Welcome everybody to episode 84 of the ADV podcast. So tell you what, we've got quite a great one for you today.
Did you plan that?
I did.
You bloody bastard.
Anyway, the fact of the matter is, we actually have a very special guest. We have an interview with a very special guest today, which we'll be getting to shortly. For those of you who don't know, his name is Drew Pavlou. Pavlou. Yeah, sorry. I mean, I always call him Drew Pavlov because it's easier for me to remember. But yeah,
that's definitely what you do with people's names.
Yeah,
it's like a Pavlovian response. Really, if you think about it. Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a little inside joke. Anyway, Drew Pavlou, who's a very important figure right now, especially with regards to Australia and fighting against the CCP. But of course, we've got other things to talk about. So before we do that, let's just get right into it with what's new, where we talk about what's new in China and what's new in the whole sort of ADV sphere, so to speak. And I think the first thing we're going to do is show you this fantastic meme.
That was a I want to say great, but I don't want to be cliche here.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is this was put out before the end of the last podcast.
I was impressed.
Finished.
I was very impressed.
Yeah, and for those of you who actually don't know, this came from, this ridiculous song that the propaganda department put out in China for the Beijing Olympics, and then we looked into some of the people that they were using in there, some of the foreigners, and just happened to be our new favorite person, Tanky Hodor.
We would have him on. If he wants to make a career change, we will absolutely have him on.
We'd love to have him on the show. Yeah, reach out. Anyway, let's get into a couple of other things that are new here.
Just want to do a couple super chats that got deleted off the page here first, because I want people to know that we didn't forget about them.
Okay.
China's Power Shift says China's pledged carbon neutrality by 2060. Then that's after Taiwan launches its offensive attack, wiping every coal and nuclear plant off of the mainland. That's. I guess that's a joke. Frederick York says, what have you guys made of the sixth plenum? Can I get cotton, great manners?
Okay, well, first of all, speaking of cotton, look what Xinhua News Agency put out. I
mean, you just can't make this up.
Yeah.
Can you set this up so people understand?
Well, it's a tweet. Now, Xinhua News Agency, which, of course, you can even see it says China State-Affiliated Media. It's not just China State-Affiliated. It is China State Media. Xinhua is the top... it goes from there and it trickles down. So this is the Chinese Communist Party from Emperor Xi to the CCP.
Correct.
To the media. This is the first stop along the way. And then it goes down, trickles down to Global Times and all that other crap. Anyway, they've been putting out some crazy stuff, which we're going to talk about in the future as well. Xi Jinping's just been reelected or whatever into his third term. Or whatever.
Let's absolutely not confuse anyone. He wasn't elected.
Yeah, not elected.
Anything.
How
he's self-appointed.
The fact of the matter is this Xinhua News has been for the past couple of weeks just putting out these ridiculous praise pieces about Xi Jinping.
Oh
about
my
gosh.
It's insane. Give us a quote from one of those.
Oh man, I've been tweeting it all the time, but it's just where they say
what an illustrious man.
Yes, he's like an amazing thoughtless man with so much stamina who can look at
his stamina and look at how innovative. They keep saying he's innovative. He's quite possibly the least innovative CCP official we've had thus far.
Yeah.
Actually, he is absolutely the least innovative.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is this guy has been praised ridiculously by Xinhua News, and I'm actually putting together a little compilation of all the cringe-worthy stuff.
You're going to do a video next week on that, right?
It's probably going to be my next week video. Anyway, so
I want to give it a little teaser for mine. I got my hands on the Xi Jinping Thought textbook for children in China, and I translated it.
Yes, it's terrible. It's terrifying. Anyway, so, this whole forced allegation... I don't know why they don't drop this, by the way. It's kind of like yesterday's news, if you know what I mean.
You should probably stop bringing it up,
But China. They keep bringing it up.
Holy shit.
So, we all know about the allegations of forced labor, Xinjiang forced labor. And so H&M and all these big brands, they joined this Better Brand Initiative thing, Better Cotton Initiative, to make sure that forced labor wasn't used. Yeah. So they have been putting out all this crappy propaganda for ages. And now again, just November 8th, a couple days ago, they put this out, which says 12 experts and scholars from China's Xinjiang debunked fallacies about forced labor in Xinjiang at a symposium held in Urumqi, the region's capital.
I mean, they literally got a Uyghur guy to lay in cotton. We've seen some propaganda videos from those sisters that we brought up before.
Oh, the Ghoulie sisters.
Yeah. They were doing a propaganda piece for the CCP.
Yeah.
And it was to say you should come to Xinjiang because it's so beautiful. They're standing in like a smoggy field, and they're, instead of holding flowers, they're holding cotton.
Yeah.
It's like when they get accused of something, it's just like as if I don't want to say the word. I'll say it's if a criminal is intellectually disabled.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I am not bad, and they have like a gun in their hand or something. And
They'll like throw the gun down.
Gun
that
down.
gun is not mine.
It's not mine after you see them do it. They're holding cotton, laying in cotton, like,
Yeah. So they got this Uyghur guy lying in cotton.
No forced labor here.
Oh, it's amazing. It's so comfortable. I got such a comfortable life. But the whole wording, 12 experts and scholars from Xinjiang debunked the fallacies of forced labor,
Correct.
in Xinjiang.
CCP officials.
Yeah, at a symposium held in Xinjiang. So in other words,
literally a Chinese government symposium.
Yeah, so they set up a symposium. They got people that are government to say there's no forced labor in Xinjiang. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
I mean, because you can't go to Xinjiang, you can't go to China right now, so this is not a third-party symposium. You know what they should have, though, for the Guli sisters? They should have a symposium.
Symposium.
There's a whole
I love that. That's actually very good. Cool.
Should probably hit them with a cotton if they're.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry about that.
So anyway, just want to say, Zhe says, any thoughts on how Australia can get the port of Darwin back from the CCP at PLA? Just do it.
Yeah, I think that there's some talks about that, to be honest, and I like that. I really do like the fact that they might be revoking that.
Yes.
I mean, there's a possibility. We're going to be talking about Australia quite a bit today.
We'll get into the meat now.
Okay, we've actually got...
I'll get to you guys in a minute.
Yeah, we've got something else that we have to just tell you guys that we just want to say thank you. The reason we read out those super chats, we want to say thank you. We have had, as you can see, over the past...
You guys
4
might
videos.
You guys might think these videos are from a long period of time, and I just specifically chose ones that got demonetized. Nope. So we do 4 videos a month.
Yes.
Right? This is 4 videos. The past 4 videos that we've done.
3 of them were...
3 of them got demonetized. Actually copyright claimed.
Yeah.
By none other than the Chinese state government.
So,
what they've been doing is manually going through our videos, and anytime we show Chinese media or anything like that, then they'll use that, and then they know that we're not going to fight it, because when you fight it, you have to take it to court.
Yeah, it's a long process. Yeah.
So we just get demonetized. The weird thing is, before, you know what they used to do is claim all the money from the videos. Now they just don't let us monetize it. It's really weird.
Well, I mean, if you do see adverts popping up on those, it does go to the...
We don't. Yeah, it goes to
State
it
media.
literally goes to the Chinese government.
It's really annoying. Anyway, whatever, guys. We just wanted to let you know how
not making money.
Your support is by just watching our videos, sharing them out, and of course the generous people that are super chatting us. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
You really are making a massive
Thank
difference. All right, so like I said, we've got this this thing coming up, but we've got something here which is actually very worrying. Okay.
Yeah.
There's this song, and there's a little bit of a history behind this. You see, China often, and it's part of their whole political,
Pull up your notes so we can get it right.
I'll get the notes here. But the fact of the matter is, whenever there's a big political shift in China, let's say now Xi Jinping's about to get his new, his renewal,
new throne.
his renewal of his dictatorship or whatever. There are factions within the Chinese Communist Party that are trying to vie for power, okay? So there is a little bit of uncertainty there. So what they do is every time there's a new thing is they rile up this nationalism by saying that they're going to take back Taiwan. Because this has been something that's been going on since the Communist Party took over China. They failed to take back Taiwan. And so it's always been a very big talking point for them. We're going to take back Taiwan. We're going to reunify. And at first it's always by force. Now they're trying to say it's peaceful reunification. Whatever the case, they put out propaganda about taking back Taiwan every couple of years. Okay? And one thing that they've been doing now for a while is something to do with high-speed rails. Okay. So we're going to play a little bit of this song in the background, and then I'm going to explain to you what's going on. So take a look at this song. Let me just quickly make sure that our audio is going to work. 1 second. Okay, that should be fine. Okay, let's take a look.
Now we sped this up to make it sound ridiculous so we don't get claimed. Maybe.
Yeah, well, we might be lucky. Yeah, so. Okay, now I think the important thing for us to take a look over here, it says 左上拿东车. So we're going to take the high-speed rail.
Taiwan.
To Taiwan. Okay, so we're going to take the high-speed rail to Taiwan. That's pretty much the be-all and the end-all of this video. So they're showing the China high-speed rail train. It says we're going to take the high-speed rail to Taiwan. Now, first of all, is that possible?
That is not possible.
Why?
Well, this is actually just a ploy for reunification. So
Sure.
It is not possible because it is separated by the Taiwan Strait, which is
like
an ocean.
by the sea.
And also, but there's islands in between. But what they, we have some
Yeah,
notes there,
I'll
right?
read the notes
Yeah.
in a minute. Let's just take a look at some more of this.
This is a pop song, by the way.
Yeah.
It says by 2035.
35. So they've got a date now.
So-
2035. I'm going to take the high-speed rail in 2035 to Taiwan.
Right.
That's what they're saying. So I'll read the notes here before we continue.
So why does this pop song exist?
Basically, the high-speed rail is going to be, it's been planned out. It's going to go from Pingtan, Fuzhou, which is in Fujian province, to Taipei, Taiwan. Okay, and it is in the National Comprehensive Third Transportation Network Planning Outline put out by the Central Committee of the CCP.
So this is what you get on ADV podcast that you don't get elsewhere. We're gonna go through and break down why they made this.
Now, previously they've made a thing about this in 2004 and in 2008 where they put out this planning.
They've done two propaganda campaigns about how they're gonna by 2004 finish a rail network that will, after reclaiming Taiwan, be a possibility. So they did that prior to that, and say by 2004, blah blah blah. Then they did it again, but by 2008, and then you can see it in this one. It's by 2035.
Yeah, exactly. So they do this every time to kind of underhandedly threaten reunification,
right?
Because they've got like a professor Li Fei of a Chinese research center, which says this is all part of their like announcement about this planning, and he says that an underwater tunnel to Taiwan is feasible, it's logical, but not politically viable, but will be viable after reunification.
So now you can kind of get a taste of why this song exists.
So it's made for the explicit purpose of saying they're going to reunify and take over Taiwan. Okay. Now the lyrics, as we heard in the beginning, let's just hear a little bit more here for a second, quickly.
Maybe pause it so we don't get clear.
Yeah, okay.
I think we're avoiding it thus far. You never
Okay,
know.
I mean, let's just fast forward a little bit. Basically, they're showing off all the beautiful... Sorry, let's go back. They're showing off all the beautiful tourist spots in Taiwan. Because, Taiwan is very well known. We've been there, obviously, multiple times. It's a beautiful place. You lived there for a year. There's so many beautiful, well-known spots, even well-known throughout mainland China. But now they're mixing in the mainland China tourist spots in this music video to kind of say that it's just another part of China. So we're going to visit all these beautiful spots in Taiwan as if they're just another tourist spot in China. And within this music video, this is an official music video, by the way, put up by the state.
Yep.
It's got, the high-speed rails. It actually has Chinese flags in it, the red Chinese flags. It's got Tiananmen Square in it, all that kind of stuff. So it's trying to say, this is just fact. It belongs to us. It's kind of like some crazy ex-boyfriend trying to say that his ex-girlfriend belongs to him type thing. You know what I mean? It's a crazy thing.
Yeah, so last time we talked about that real estate article that was put out there. It was like, after we take back Taiwan, where can you get the best real estate in Taiwan? And we are creeped out by that kind of stuff. But then when you have the state back, songs coming out saying like, yeah, we're going to bring our full family over to Taiwan. We're just going to reclaim it with military force.
It's just like, we're just going to jump on the high-speed rail and go and see all the sites in Taiwan, which we're going to get to now in a second because... It's getting more devious than just this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like this. Yeah. It's really bad vibes.
They've got like Zhongguo Meng posting all this propaganda crap.
It's a shit song, by the way.
Oh, of course.
It's not even worth laughing at. But it's actually kind of creepy.
Yeah, the creepy part though is this. Is now they're using kids. They've got kids singing this song, okay?
Let's go militarily destroy and murder everyone in Taiwan, and then we'll take it over, and then we can take the high-speed rail there.
Yeah. So, okay, here we got the kids singing the same song. Waving the Chinese national flag, by the way, for those of you who can't see it.
Let's go on the high-speed rail to Taiwan.
We've got like a group of kids here all singing it.
We're going to do it in 2035.
Yeah. We're going to go and see the Ali Mountain, which is a very famous mountain in Taiwan. It's beautiful there. We've been there.
Yep.
And see the magic of the Sun Moon Lake, which is another very famous,
Yeah.
Basically, you get the idea.
Yeah.
So what they're doing here is they're saying, oh, we're just going to hop on the high-speed rail and go look at all these beautiful spots in our Taiwan type thing in 2035.
Again, it's grooming.
Yeah.
It's grooming the populace. And it's also what's it called? A defense mechanism, because then they can say, oh, we're definitely going to, because then people aren't going to question, be like, when are we going to take back Taiwan? You keep promising that we're going to go militarily take over Taiwan. We'll give them a song that says, oh yeah, we will, and by this date, Yeah. And you groom them, you get them ready and comfortable with the idea that they're going to be murdering.
It's terrible. It's like, oh, we're just going to take it over.
Yeah.
It's like teaching your kids, like, oh, we're going to go take over the Navajo reservation. We're going to turn it into a shopping mall, you know, and you're making the kids that live, live nearby. We're going to invade the Navajo, reservation and completely flatten it and put in a shopping mall.
Or like a neighboring country.
That is the most passive-aggressive crap you could ever do, is what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're teaching it to kids to sing. It's like, oh, it's a kid's song. Let's get all our kids to wave flags and sing it. It's horrible. It's warmongering. It's awful. And that's just what the CCP does.
Yes.
Anyway, we thought we'd bring that to light.
Agreed.
I think, look, we're going to get into this interview now, okay, because it's a good, solid interview. But before we do, let's just do a couple more super chats.
Sure. What have you got? Sorry.
Okay.
Peter Daszak has better use his best manners.
Oh, what? What's that?
Oh, sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
If he's to continue getting cotton money from the CCP. Okay. 4 soundbites.
Okay. Well, there we got that.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I have some thoughts on the relationship of the current German government with the Chinese regime? Thank you for your unique channel. Yeah, Michael, that's a good question. Now, with Germany, they still have to adhere to all the alliances that they have in the West. At the same time, their economy is very fragile if you're talking about how much business they do with China.
Yeah, especially the automotive industry.
Yeah, so when you have like VW and all these big automotive companies, they've invested so much and they paired themselves so much with China that it's even more of a Band-Aid ripoff than other Western countries like the US.
Unfortunately, China has this massive navy, right?
Yes.
Lots of warships and stuff. It turns out that the majority of the Chinese navy are using German engines.
Yeah.
And it's because of some loophole, because theoretically Germany's not allowed to sell China stuff to use in their military.
Because they're part of the EU.
But what they do is they label it as dual use. So this engine is supposed to be used for this, but it can theoretically be used in a military application, but that's not its main purpose. But that is its main purpose. So that's kind of sneaky and shitty.
We saw Merkel cozying up way too hard with the CCP. Hopefully what's happening now is going to be a shift in that. We've seen the German populace in general be very much opposed to the CCP.
Yeah, I'm just going to say it. I'm not a big fan of Merkel at all.
No, she's not done a great job.
No, I think she's been pretty bad to Germany in general.
Yeah, sure.
But that's just me. I could be wrong.
I mean, I just know about the China perspective.
Yeah.
I actually spoke to some politicians in Germany. I did a symposium.
Yeah, you did you?
Remember that?
Yeah.
And we talked about China in general, and this general shift in Germany. At least amongst the popular parties, is that the Chinese influence in Europe is not good, and then also not decoupling, but a more intelligent strategy to deal with China must be enacted, because what's happening in Germany right now is not good.
Cool. Let's do one more super chat, and then we're bringing in Pavlou.
PowerShift says, really enjoy the latest ADVChina videos. Thank you. I'll get the next
That's
question.
Great.
Sorry. Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, excellent. So, guys, without further ado, we're going to hit Soft Power Hour, where we talk about how China is taking over the way you think and the way your country works, especially in regards to Australia. We've been saying it here on the show for a long time that Australia belongs to China. And from any outside perspective, I know Australians might not see it as clearly as someone from the outside, but when you're looking at what the relationship between China and Australia has been for decades now, you've slowly seen China influence Australia and pretty much steamroll the country into being its bitch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, I can't put it in a nicer way than that. But, from the beginning with the milk powder Daigou situation, where they just strip everything off the shelves to send back to China, where the locals couldn't get milk powder, the infant formula for their own babies, to just the absolute craziness of the Port of Darwin being sold out to the Chinese and leased out to them, big tracts of land, farming stuff, the real estate, the government being influenced by bribes, and the fact that you've got a United Front linked member of parliament there, all that kind of stuff. It's crazy when you look at it from the outside. And I guess when you're in Australia, you're just like, this is just a normal day, Anyway, so we thought we'd bring probably Australia's biggest hope onto the show, Drew Pavlov. So without further adu, Pavlou. You're gonna have to forgive me there, mate. That's how we talk about you in the office here. We're always like, what's Pavlov up to today? Obviously, we mean Pavlou. So let's bring in Pavlou. Let's do it. Yeah, before we actually ask you any questions, it'd be cool for you to just introduce yourself, for those of you who maybe don't know who you are.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Drew Pavlou. I'm a human rights activist in Brisbane, Australia. I'm 22 years old. I sort of fell into this because I organised one protest to support Hong Kong and the Uyghurs. And I was assaulted on campus by Chinese nationalists, and hundreds of Chinese nationalists sort of descended upon us. After that happened, the Chinese Consul General in Brisbane, who was also made a professor at my university, they have very close ties with the Chinese government. He endorsed the violence, saying it was patriotic. My family received all these death threats. And I kept on sort of protesting. Eventually, the University of Queensland, and they have a relationship with China worth $300 million a year. They actually tried to expel me. So that became this huge sort of, saga in Australia. And I'm still here, almost 2.5 years since the first punch where I got punched, still kicking. And now we're running for Parliament, and we've got a young multicultural party. We've got a young Hong Konger Australian running with us, Max Mock. He's going against Gladys Liu, a Liberal Party MP who has significant links to the Chinese Communist Party's United Front network. And we've got two great Uyghur young women running for us in South Australia. And they're the first Uyghurs to run, as far as we know, they're the first Uyghurs to run in a democratic election anywhere in the entire world. So yeah, we're trying to, we've continued to take on the Chinese Communist Party, still kicking, and became this whole. It sort of has slowly taken over my life.
Great. Yeah. Now, you actually told kind of what the first question was. How did this all kick off? Can you go back to the moment where all of this shit kind of hit the fan?
Yeah. So I never once tried to. I never set out to be an activist related to China whatsoever. It sort of it honestly almost happened on a whim. Like, I was watching people at the University of Queensland. There's a big student group, and people were posting in the student group in the lead up to the 30th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. There were, Chinese students who were posting defenses of the massacre, what the government did. And I was watching what was happening in Hong Kong. This was 2019, watching, these young people my age getting bashed and brutalized by Chinese police, Hong Kong police. And I had been aware of what was happening with the Uyghurs for a while at that point. I was reading about the concentration camps, and I'd studied the Rwandan genocide in school, and I'd always sort of made a pact with myself, if, genocide occurs again in my lifetime, which it will, because it's this like evil recurrence that keeps on happening. Like, I wanted to make sure that I would not be one of those people who looked the other way. And so with all that happening in 2019, I tried to, just on a whim almost, I organised a small protest at the University of Queensland where I was studying. And it was basically a protest against the university's ties with the Chinese government, trying to support Hong Kong, trying to support Uyghurs. And it was the first protest I'd ever organised in my life. It was really disorganised. I had like literally 10 mates who just came along with me. I slept in on the morning of the protest. I was not prepared at all. And I was like 1 hour late to my own protest. It was such a small sort of like, almost insignificant affair. And yet the night before the protest, there had been Chinese international students at UQ who were threatening to kill me if I went ahead with it and saying, "We'll kill your mother." And I couldn't accept that. I just, with my personality, with those people, when they were threatening to kill me, threatening to kill my mum if I went ahead and protested against the Chinese government in Australia, I just Googled, insults in Mandarin, and I just copied and pasted what I found on Google. Right. So I just, these people were trying to threaten me. They were trying to say, if you go ahead with the protest, kill your mum. I just was like, fuck you, I'm going to go ahead with it anyway. I didn't even think anything would happen. I just thought, oh, just, it's online stuff. We went ahead with it, and then, everything was normal for like an hour. And as I said, it was a very small protest. We only had 10 people. It was pretty disorganized. And almost just as we were about to, end up, like 2 Chinese men came from different directions, and they, grabbed my megaphone, smashed it to the ground. I stood up trying to confront them. I'd never been in a fight in my life. And they just got me in the ribs, punched me in the mouth, threw me to the ground. I tried to get up again, like they just smashed me back down. And then we realized we'd been surrounded on all directions. So, the ultimate police estimate on the day of the number of Chinese nationalists who had come to sort of like attack us, the police estimate was 600 to 700-ish.
Yeah.
So, and this was for a protest that like initially, started out with 10 people on our side. And they started playing the Chinese national anthem on a boom speaker, literally the second that I got attacked. So it was like coordinated. Because we'd been surrounded on all sides, my small crew, we didn't have anywhere to sort of retreat to, or like we couldn't watch our back. So one of these guys in a skeleton teeth mask, this was another guy, another Chinese international student. Well, I don't think that they were students. I think the guys who attacked us were actually like probably sent from the consulate. I think because the consulate, endorsed the violence the next day. But, this guy in a skeleton teeth mask, he came up behind me, punched me in the back of the head while my back was turned, knocked me to the ground, a coward punch. We were, we have a saying in Australia, one punch can kill. Those type of coward punches, when, if someone is knocked out and they collapse to the floor, their head hits the ground, they die,
Yeah, happens.
So it was really dangerous stuff what they were doing, these guys, and they poured yellow liquid that smelled like smelled of phlegm, like that's spat it, like they poured that over us. A security guard who tried to separate us, he was bitten, so I saw a photo of a security guard's hand that had a big bite mark out of it. Just, it was crazy, the violence that happened that day. There were Hong Kongers who were choke slammed to the ground. At least 2 students from mainland China who were on our side, who were like pro-democracy demonstrators alongside us. Within 48 hours, Chinese security police had visited their families and basically threatened them because I guess they were photographed alongside us at the protest. And the Chinese security police basically threatened their families. If your son's seen protesting in Brisbane, Australia, at the University of Queensland again, there'll be consequences. And I went home that day. My parents were apoplectic. They were so angry that I had done this because just like quiet sort of like Greek fruit shop owners really just didn't want me to get involved in activism or politics whatsoever. They were so angry and upset. And basically, I woke up the next day and my accounts had 400, 500 abusive messages all across them, death threats, really vile stuff saying we'll kill your mum, we'll kill you, we'll hire hitmen on the dark web, we'll rape your mum in front of you, we'll torture your mum in front of you, that sort of thing. Really, really vicious stuff. And a lot of racist stuff as well, saying, Australia is the white trash of Asia. That was what they were saying. Calling me a white pig. Other ones were calling me, and this is an interesting one, an insult that sometimes has been used in Australia against, Greek Australians and Italian Australians and stuff is wog. And, there were some even like Chinese accounts that were saying you're a dirty wog and things like that. Like just really crazy, vicious, racist stuff, as well as the death threats. And basically the Chinese Consul General, who the University of Queensland had just that month made an honorary professor. They gave him an honorary doctorate for his services to Chinese literature. It turns out he was just literally state security in China, like probably just persecuting dissidents. Great writer, of course,
Sure.
All his great contributions to Chinese poetry, etc. Zhu Jie, he had actually put out a statement whether it was in his capacity as Consul General or whether it was in his capacity as an honorary professor of the University of Queensland, he had actually endorsed, he basically endorsed the violence by saying, we endorse the self-motivated patriotic behavior of the Chinese students who opposed the separatists. And Global Times had put my photo up saying, this is the leader of the separatist rally. So he meant me, I suppose. And as we would all know, separatism is death penalty offense in China. Yeah. So, yeah, like this is how it all started, you know. And just with my kind of personality, again, you know, I've never set out whatsoever to be an activist regarding China, but just with my personality, I was like, how dare these guys in Australia try and say that I can't speak out for Uyghurs, Hong Kongers? How dare they try and extend their repression here to a democracy? I'm going to speak up even louder. Fuck these cunts, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I mean, that's just how it all happened, you know. And so I just kept on going. And you know, so I've since been, you know, attacked by, you know, the tankies and the pro CCP people. Sure. They go, oh, Drew was just in it for the fame, blah blah blah. Well, you know, there are easier ways to get fame than go to the Chinese government, you know. Sure. You could just make TikToks. You could just go on a nudie run through a stadium, you know.
Sure.
Like, it is so much easier to get fame if you just want, if that was your end goal. You can just do that, you know, make funny videos. You don't have to go after the Chinese government, because honestly, those first 6 months were hell. You know, my parents were not speaking to me in the same home. So, you know, I almost lost my entire family relationship because, you know, my parents, they love me so much and they've been so supportive to me since. But that first, you know, that first whole thing I mean, the start of it, it was such you know, they were panicked. They were so worried for me. They wanted me to stop because they were scared for my safety. They were scared for the family's safety. And they were trying to make me stop. And I guess, you know, we just didn't have a relationship for 6 months. And I lost almost my entire friendship group at the same time because so many people, you know, a lot of them were like, wow, now you're becoming this right-wing anti-China racist and stuff like that. Because, you know, I'm on a uni campus. They're kind of like, you know, uni campus is pretty woke, whatnot. Lost almost my entire friendship circle. It was, you know, it was people who were going, oh, suddenly you're this right-wing racist. But also it was also people who were like, oh, you know, I don't want to be associated because I'm worried about what the university might do to me, what you know, the consequences might be for my career. Lost almost my entire friendship circle, almost lost my family relationship. You know, it was a really lonely, hard 6 months, and I basically couldn't really continue with the part-time work that I'd been doing to support myself through university. So I was just basically tutoring high school kids on the side. And I basically lost that because, like, you know, what parent's going to hire an enemy of the Chinese state to tutor their kid? Sure. Yeah, so I lost that. So basically for 6 months, you know, I was completely broke. My family wouldn't talk to me, even though we were under the same roof. I almost lost my entire friendship circle. And then the university started going after me. You know, so like people go, oh, you did it for fame, blah, blah, blah. So many easier ways to go for fame. It was just for me.
I got to tell you, first of all, welcome to the club. Okay. You're now on the shit list of the CCP, and you're on the shit list of the Wu Maos and the Tankies and all of this.
Yo.
We know exactly what you went through because it's happened to us.
Let it be on this day of November that we anoint you.
No, I mean, look, that's why we admire you so much, is because there are very few people that stand up against this kind of abuse, and that's why they do this. It's very effective. They go after the families. They go after you in such a way that it deters anyone from speaking out. And so it's very few people can actually withstand that amount of abuse and mental attacks and so on. And that's just the way they work. And it's disgusting. Yeah. That's how they control the narrative about China around the entire world. And as you can see yourself, in Australia, if they do that to you, how many other people have they discouraged before they even got started? You know?
Of course. Like, because in a... You know, and, you know, it continued because, like, after, like, they actually they put out Global Times releases basically calling for the University of Queensland to expel me as a student because
Global Times is Chinese state media for everyone out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like basically they're frothing at the mouth like nationalist psycho state media. And, you know, they were basically calling for my head, calling for me to be expelled from the university. The university's relationship with China was $300 million a year. Still is. You know, that's $1 billion relationship over a 5-10 year period.
Sure.
And so the university then went after me. So like in the intervening period, I kept on going. I got elected to the University Senate, which runs the university, because the Vice Chancellor, and the Vice Chancellor, keep in mind, Peter Hui, he had actually been awarded by the Chinese government in 2015 the Most Outstanding Individual of the Year award, by Hanban, the institute that runs the Confucius Institutes.
Right.
They've made him the Most Outstanding Individual of the Year. He was on the board of Hanban that ran Confucius Institutes worldwide, and they made him Most Outstanding Individual of the Year. And China's Vice Premier gave him an award at a ceremony in Shanghai or something like that.
Wow.
For his efforts promoting Confucius Institutes worldwide, which we all know are propaganda institutes controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. So it then came out that, you know, at UQ, the Confucius Institutes were teaching, you know, there were 4 courses that they had funded. And these courses asked students whether Hong Kong protesters could be considered terrorists. And they also asked students whether the crackdown on Uyghurs was justified as an anti-terror response. So, for example, we've seen like the PowerPoint slides that they were teaching kids with, and like it was like before talking about, you know, the 1 million who've been rounded up in concentration camps, the torture, the systematic rape that's going on. It was basically like a dot point slide of how many Uyghurs were charged with terror offenses, like you know, the terror attacks that had been carried out by Uyghurs, etc. So basically, just like they were teaching the Chinese government's narrative about these atrocities at an Australian university campus. The University of Queensland is supposed to be one of the top 100 universities in the world. They say that they're one of the best universities in Australia, and this was what they were teaching on campus. And this was what Peter Hui had actually been presiding over. So he wouldn't meet with me. So I was like, okay, I'm running for the University Senate so that he has to meet with me. And I got in, the students elected me as their representative. It was a landslide. And
Great.
Yeah, you know, the greatest we've ever seen. And I sat right across from him at the first University of Queensland Senate meeting of the year, right beside him, Peter Varghese, the Chancellor of the university, who very, very, you know, pro-China. So his brother has, you know, was the CEO of a company that signed a huge $1 billion deal with a Chinese development company headed by United Front figures. And Peter Varghese, he was also he was previously the head of the Department of Foreign Affairs in Australia before he became the Chancellor of the university. And, you know, wind back 10 years, he'd been a top advisor to John Howard when he said there are WMDs in Iraq, invade Iraq. So, you know, one of the greatest guys of the 21st century, this Peter Varghese.
Sure.
And these are the two that sort of like presided over the entire attempt to expel me, Peter Varghese and Peter Hui. One guy got awarded by the Chinese government, literally had a medallion strung around his neck in Shanghai by China's vice premier for his efforts promoting Chinese propaganda internationally. The other guy, he basically encouraged the Australian Prime Minister at the time to invade Iraq about WMDs, and his brother was the CEO of a company that signed $1 billion deal with Chinese property development company headed by United Front links. So, you know, these are the two stooges who then presided over the attempt to try and expel me at the university. They spent $500,000 at the very least. So they admitted to the parliament they spent $350,000, something like that, on 3 law firms and 2 PR crisis management firms. And this was only what they admitted to on external funding. So, for example, all the internal university hours that they spent, because they had their own internal lawyers and stuff like that, all up, it probably gets up to $1 million.
It's crazy.
We did a freedom of information request. They had compiled in just 2-3 months, like up to 15,000 pages worth of internal correspondence and research and documents on me at the university. So they put me under like sort of total surveillance. They went through my entire social media history trying to find anything they could use that they could say, oh, that breaches the student charter. So, you know, they go back, they find a fight that I had with another student at the university online. how many times does that happen a day on a campus of 55,000 people? So
Sure.
yeah, UQ 55,000 students. How many times do students get into BIFs with one another online? But they basically compiled this 186-page expulsion document against me. Some of the charges were related to what I had said. I'd posted things like, as a UQ senator, I stand with the people of Hong Kong against the Chinese government. They literally were saying that was destroying the university's reputation. They said I should be expelled because a Chinese international student had written to the university saying, I'm withdrawing from my courses because of what Drew has posted. Have a look. And some of the charges were absolutely ridiculous. Like, for example, they had actually charged me with the offense of theft or whatever because I'd taken a pen off a campus art shop shelf. I'd taken a pen from a campus art shop's shelf, taken a note with the pen and put it back on the shelf and left the store. A $2.50 pen I didn't pay for. And the university was saying, we've got to expel Drew. This is a level 3 most serious offense.
What? We're using a little bit of lead out the pencil.
Yeah, and look. To be fair, it was a felt pen. To be fair.
Okay.
So there was a bit of ink that was used, but the universities, they tried to have this a whole confidential affair. So they put on the top of the document, confidential. You cannot talk about this entire proceeding. They said I couldn't have a lawyer present at the proceedings, and I just thought to myself, what happens if I just talk about it? So I just went public, completely huge public campaign, and then pretty soon it spiraled out of control for UQ. They had to let me. They were saying, "Oh, you can't have a lawyer present at the proceedings. You can have one support person." And then one of Australia's top lawyers came in and he said, "I'll represent you for free." Tony Morris.
Nice.
He was the youngest person appointed a silk in the 20th century in the Commonwealth. So like silks are like the most, the most senior lawyers or whatever. He was actually like 32 when they appointed him a silk, and he was a silk for longer than I've been alive. And Tony Morris came in and he said, "I'll help you for free." And because when I met with him, I was like, "Are you sure you're going to help me for free? Because I can't afford it." Like we met and I told him my story and he was like, "Yep, we're going to help you." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Awesome, Tony." And I was like, "But, I don't have any money." And then he was like, "Oh, yeah, don't worry. Like, that's why I do this stuff. Like I take from the rich and then I help ordinary people." So
that's awesome.
So yeah, it was like, it's a Robin Hood type affair. So he came in and then we were like to the university. So my support person is just going to be Tony Morris QC, like one of Australia's best lawyers. It's not going to be my mate down the shops. The support person's going to be a top lawyer. And then they pissed themselves and, it became this huge thing. Members of parliament started speaking up for me. But then equally, there were a lot who just like tried to ignore me. Like I wrote to say the foreign ministry spokesperson of the Labor Party, because not a single Labor Party MP in the state of Queensland would support me. My local MP wouldn't support me. I wrote to my local state MP, wouldn't support me. And they often they'd go, "Oh, well, you have to talk to our party's foreign ministry spokesman." I wrote to them, "No, sorry, we don't involve ourselves in internal university disciplinary matters, blah, blah, blah." So a lot of people did try and basically ignore me. A lot of people wouldn't help me. I just was really lucky that I had Tony Morris. I had a couple MPs who really did back me. It became this huge thing in Australia, I suppose, and it even made New York Times, Wall Street Journal, LA Times, the BBC. Like it actually became international news because it was so brazen what the university was doing. Like they were trying to say that their official position that they were trying to put to the public was, "Oh, well, it's got nothing to do with China. We're expelling Drew because he took the pen off the shelf." And like, not a single person, with any brains could ever believe that I was getting expelled from the University of Queensland and they're spending $500,000 on these top law firms. They're spending money on PR crisis management firms because some guy took a pen off the shelf and stole 20 cents worth of ink by putting it back on the shelf and not. It was crazy. It was crazy. And so they tried, but still, it was like they had a death drive, and it didn't make any sense unless you considered, well, they're just doing this because the Chinese Communist Party is telling them to do it.
Yeah.
Because rationally, it made absolutely no sense. No. Like, because by going after me, they smashed their reputation in Australia. Like, there were there were people who were running campaigns, and they were saying like, you know, there was like a big movement, I guess, among like, say, you know, people who had graduated from UQ in the past, alumni. They were like, we're never donating to UQ again based on this. And like, there were hundreds, if not thousands, of people who contacted the university, wrote to the university. Literally, a former Prime Minister of Australia intervened. He like literally put out a statement saying the university and Peter Varghese are bowing the knee to China. And this was Kevin Rudd, who's not really known as a big sort of like anti-CCP person. You know, Kevin Rudd, he was putting out a statement saying the university is bending their knee to China. It was like it was New York Times. Like, ordinarily, a university in Australia would kill someone to get in the New York Times, and they were getting in the New York Times, but it wasn't positive press, you know.
No.
It was this university in Australia is trying to expel a student who's been a vocal critic of their relationship with China, and no one believes that the case against him is not politically motivated. So it became this huge thing. And again, people were like, oh, you're doing it for the fame. Well, man, it was a huge mental toll on me, though. Yeah. I had fun. I had fun just like really going after them, because my whole personality, every time someone tries to bully me, like I want to speak up louder. Sure. And so like I had fun in the sense that like I was so glad that like I didn't give in and I could go up against these people, even though it was like, you know, against all the odds, like these people had to be exposed. I was really happy I could try and actually campaign with that. But ultimately, though, it did have a huge mental toll. Like, I remember when I first got that 186-page expulsion document in the email, and at the top it said confidential. Like, if you talk about this, you know, there will be consequences. Like, at that point, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I thought my life was over, you know? At that point, I wasn't even thinking, oh, I'm going to go public. Like, I just thought, oh my God, my life's over. Because it's 186 pages you go through, and it's just like, it's just the worst stuff they could ever, like, put together, like the pen. Oh, Drew called someone a cunt. Oh, Drew, look at this screenshot. Look at this screenshot of Drew swearing. Like it was really vicious what they did. Like, I lost a friend to suicide, literally 3 months before. So, like, you know, UQ, they knew I'd struggled with the death threats. They knew that I'd struggled with the whole attacks on my family. And they knew as well that like just like 2-3 months before, a fellow UQ student, a friend of mine, had actually died in a suicide that was really huge public news in Australia because it was like tied to a protest. And look, like the university, like he tragically lost his life in January, and within a couple of days there had been trolls who had been attacking me about his death, saying basically they were
Were they blaming you? Were they trying to tie you to his death?
Blaming me and mocking me over the death, and basically like it was some of the most vicious stuff you could ever imagine, right?
Oh, dude, this happens to us all the time. We understand what you're going through. They use tragedies like that, and they try to do this guilt by association. It's another way of them trying to dissuade you from speaking out. They try to make you feel as if you're responsible for some kind of tragedy in order to try and shut you up. It's just one of the many tactics they use.
Yeah, it was just really vicious. Like, I've been dealing with vicious attacks and like abuse for like 2.5 years now, you know, and that was some of the most vicious and brutal I'd received. And I had responded as, you know, any tough-minded young person would respond to, in a way. Like I think anyone would respond the same way I did. If it's a couple days after their mate's tragic suicide and they're in a very dark place and people are trying to actually abuse them for it, I just said, eat glass, you cunts, to the people that did. And what did the university do? They screenshotted me saying that, removed the context of people trying to basically, like, this is the most vicious stuff ever, you know?
Yeah.
And I just was sitting there at the computer. I looked at the 186-page document. I saw that they had even used my response to people trolling me about my mate's suicide. They'd even tried to use that against me. Like, they could see the immediate preceding comments were actually mocking me about a mate's suicide and attacking me. And they ignored that. And then they just said, in a vacuum, Drew has just come out of nowhere and said, eat glass, and told these students and they was trying to say that was a suicide. They were trying to say that I had incited suicides and stuff like that by saying that. So, like, it was such a vicious thing. I looked at this expulsion document. I was like, oh my God, my life's over. So at that point, I was glad that I could campaign against the university. I was glad it became a big public thing. But initially, like, it was just such a hard thing.
Well, you went through the hardest part. That specific time that you've pinpointed there. I mean, I had something very similar happen to me when I was 21 years old. But I know what it's like when all the wind is taken out of your sails and you feel like, it's a hopeless situation. The thing is, you got over that, okay? You fought the hardest part of all of this. You got over it. And so now there's nothing in the world that's going to stop you,
Exactly, man. Exactly. That's my entire mindset, because I'm like, they even had, so for example, like, as well, when the expulsion document came out, and it was 186 pages, and I sent this to the, ABC, the Australian public broadcaster. I sent it to like New York Times, Washington Post, like all the top papers in Australia. All the journalists read it and they were like, yes, this is a politically motivated farce. But at that stage, I couldn't publicly release the entire 186-page thing, right? Because there were names in it and stuff like that. Then the university, if I'd done that, the university would have gone after me harder, going, wow, look, Drew's now trying to name other students. And so, I couldn't release it publicly. So there were like people in like the student wings of the major parties in Australia who were going to like local MPs and stuff, saying the reason Drew's not releasing the whole document is because there's rape allegations in it and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, of course they'd say that.
Yeah, so like, and they just hated me from student politics or whatever. So like, this is the level of vicious stuff I was receiving. Like I had death threats to my family, people saying they're going to rape and kill my mum. I had people trying to do fake rape allegations against me. Like, I had people, basically mocking me over a friend's suicide, and like the most vicious stuff ever. It's been 2.5 years almost of hell, but it's like now I've gotten through to the other side. It's like I've weathered just fucking hell basically, and I've never. They try to go, oh, he's done it for money, he's done it for fame. Like, no, I've actually just weathered hell, and I've like never profited really. I've never made any money from this. Like, I posted the other day, like I've got $20 in my personal account. Like I just did this because I believe in the cause. I believe I want to support. Like, I believe my Uyghur friends. I want to support them. I want to support Hong Kongers. I want to support Tibetans. I've seen my Uyghur friends be targeted for even being associated with me. Like, earlier this year, my emails were hacked by a Chinese IP address, and I had a transcript of an interview I'd done with my Uyghur friend in Australia, and like he had talked about intimidation he had received from the CCP and how they'd abused his family back home, and like we worked out, there was a certain date in January that they had gotten into my account. It was like early January, and like a couple days after that, my Uyghur friend's mother back home had been taken to the concentration camps, and she'd been harassed for many months, but it was kind of an unprecedented move, and he didn't know why, and it was just like, and we worked out, my emails had been hacked a couple days before, and they had that, and the transcript of that interview was in my emails. Like, we think they probably took his mum for that. Like it's just hell, It's just hell. They've taken family members of my friends.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Now, we need to move on from this. We need to move on to something different here. Firstly, though, I just want to get your opinion on something. Now, for the longest time, we've been talking about how Australia more or less belongs to China. Okay, that's something that's been a recurring thing that I've been talking about. I mean, we see the Chinese flag being raised above the Box Hill, police station. We see the fact that you've got a United Front member as part of your parliament there. All these dodgy business deals. Everyone's being bought out by China. The fact that people like you are being attacked and censored by the Chinese consulate within China. What is your take on all of this stuff?
Oh, look, they're like the United Front are so active in Australia, and just basically through financial ties and through sheer brutal intimidation, thuggery and stuff like that against people who want to speak up. Like, they have succeeded in making a lot of Australian politicians, completely shit scared of ever opposing the Chinese Communist Party, speaking up against the atrocities that occur. So many, like they've managed to buy up huge institutions in Australian society, like the university sector, like basically just through like the huge financial ties that have formed through like, you know, international students. They've used international students as a cash cow. Like, and I feel so terrible for these students themselves because they're often just exploited. Like, huge, they're made to pay extortionate rates at the universities, and then they're like, and they oftentimes live in pretty tough conditions. Like, for example, when the COVID pandemic came around, like we tried to do a hamper drive for, you know, international students and stuff like that, because the university was trying to trumpet how charitable they were by offering $25 hampers to international students who were going hungry, and we're like, okay, we're going to do it for free. So we delivered 250 free hampers to like international students. Many of them were Chinese international students, people who were like going hungry because they couldn't work in Australia and they weren't you can't work if you're an international student really, and also you can't really access welfare, and you know things were really tough when that pandemic came around. We were actually, you know, contrary to the Chinese government, which continues to say Drew's this white supremacist racist, I was getting, you know, I was getting like hampers sent out to Chinese international students who were going hungry during the pandemic. So like they're really exploited a lot of the times. The universities use them as a cash cow, and the universities have just basically been completely bought up by the Chinese Communist Party, because for the University of Queensland, it's $300 million a year. University of Sydney, University of Melbourne, like, you know, those three are supposed to be the best in Australia. University of Sydney, University of Melbourne, it's even more, like it's $500 million a year. So, you know, you think about this in terms of 10 years or more, over a decade, their ties to the Chinese Communist Party, like their ties to China, which completely rely upon their ties to the Chinese Communist Party, they're worth billions. Yeah. And the university vice chancellors, they get their they get huge salaries, $1.5 million, a lot of them, like more than the presidents of Harvard, more than the president, you know, more than the vice chancellor or the senior provost at Oxford University, etc. Like they're paid more than the Australian Prime Minister. And the vice chancellors, a lot of the time they have in their contracts key performance indicators. They have to deepen ties with China. So, for example, when I was on the University of Queensland Senate, I was able to reveal to people that they had given him a $200,000 bonus for meeting that KPI, deepening ties with China. And they had listed, he'd visited China 4 times in 2018, blah, blah, blah. Like, look at how he's deepening ties with China. He got a $200,000 bonus. And that was confidential. That was confidential. Like, I sent that to an MP who revealed it on the floor of Parliament under parliamentary privilege. And so the university couldn't go after me because it was used with parliamentary privilege.
Yeah.
And if they had gone after me, it would have been contempt of Parliament. But like they wanted that to be secret. They didn't want the public to know that they were going to give a $200,000 bonus to the vice chancellor who had earlier been awarded by the Chinese government for propaganda efforts. They were going to give him a $200,000 bonus for deepening ties with China. So the universities have been really bought off. Massive sections of the major parties, both Labor and the Liberals, have been bought off. Like Gladys Liu, as you know, she's raised millions of dollars for the Liberal Party, and this is the Liberal Conservative government of Australia. They like to talk really tough on China, and yet Gladys Liu, in an interview, on Sky News, she couldn't call Xi Jinping a dictator. She said, "Well, no, that's in their system. He's an elected chairman." She wouldn't condemn atrocities, you know. And she was under investigation by ASIO, Australia's intelligence service, prior to entering Parliament. She was photographed with a guy who later ended up dead in a Melbourne hotel room after he revealed that a Chinese businessman had offered him $1 million to be elected to like get into Parliament and basically be like a CCP agent. So this Chinese guy, he comes out and he says, I was offered $1 million by a massive Chinese businessman to run for Parliament, get elected. And then he turns up dead in a Melbourne hotel room under suspicious circumstances. And then there's Gladys Liu just like, you know, having dinner with him, just smiling like, wow, so normal, you know.
There's something very important that I need to just say here. You know, before you came along, I'll be honest, I thought that Australians were a bunch of sissies, basically, completely weak and just, you know, could not stand up against the CCP, because for years now I've been seeing, well, not only Australia but Canada too, basically be taken over in plain sight by the Chinese government in so many ways, just being steamrolled, and everyone's just like standing back and letting it happen. A lot of people are unhappy about it, but nothing's being said. That's why he's such a breath of fresh air. But here's the thing. Evidently you support the people of Hong Kong. You support Tibetans, Uyghurs. You support, I presume you support the people of Taiwan as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. You know the people of Hong Kong, they're Chinese, right? And you know the people in Taiwan, they're Chinese too, right? So this whole label of being called a racist is really boggling, because if you were truly a racist, you would hate the people of Hong Kong and the people of Taiwan and the Uyghurs and Uyghurs are ethnically not Chinese, but they're you know what I mean? Yeah. So this idea, it's something that we face a lot as well. It's the Chinese Communist Party's trick is they've tried to kind of trick the world into believing that the Chinese government, the country of China, and the Chinese people are one and the same thing. So that if you criticize the Chinese government, suddenly you're racist towards Chinese people. But of course, this isn't the case, because if that was the case, you would hate the people of Hong Kong and Taiwan and everything else. So that's always a crazy argument that they try to throw out there to label us racist. Yeah.
And I've been banging on for more than a year now. Like, I really want to support urgent humanitarian, basically airlift programs, like trying to get Uyghurs, Hong Kongers, Tibetans, people and Chinese who are getting persecuted by the CCP. Like, I want to bring in as many of them as possible to Australia, provide them safe haven and stuff like that. So, if I was this evil racist, why would I be supporting, trying to get as many Uyghurs as possible who are facing genocide? I just genuinely want to try and support, this as I'm trying to support these humanitarian causes, because I believe that all human beings are, created equal, and all human life has value and should be protected. Nevertheless though, I'm branded, he's a white supremacist, he's a racist, he's far right, he's a Nazi, he's Trump. Even though I don't even like Trump,
don't worry. It's the cheapest, lowest tactic that they can use, and it's fairly effective, in today's woke culture. If you label someone a racist, immediately people are like, "Oh, wow, better be careful." Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous without even seeing any proof of you being a racist, which you obviously aren't. But C-Milk has some questions about your.
Well, before we get into the campaign, I wanted to ask you something more positive, since this has been the most doom and gloom shit I've ever heard in my entire life. That being said, I want to say
I've heard worse.
No, I do commend you on your bravery, and that's fantastic stuff. I do wanted to ask you though, how does it feel? You're 22, right?
Yeah.
How does it feel as a 22-year-old to absolutely fuck shit up? Because these people that are in positions of power that are just glaring over the populace like they can do whatever the hell they want. How does it feel to absolutely fuck up their plans?
Oh, it's awesome, man. It is so cool, because the university, they just thought I was a bug to be squashed. And then suddenly they were having to have crisis meetings and stuff like that. I remember the first time I met Peter Varghese, he just was smirking at me the entire time we had our meeting, and he was just talking down to me like I was a kid. I remember Peter Hoy, the vice chancellor of the university, every time he'd talk to me, he'd smirk. He called me a boy. So later when I was walking home that night I was walking out of the UQ Senate meeting, at the first UQ Senate meeting, and they'd spent 3 hours trying to discuss whether I would ever whether they'd refuse to let me get seated on the UQ Senate. I was walking home, and he got into, his deluxe, I think it was his beautiful Audi or whatever it was, this beautiful luxury car. And he wound down his window, was like, "See you boys," because I was walking with another student, and at the same meeting, he was sitting next to me, and I was talking about why I was really opposed to the Confucius Institute and stuff like that. And then he was like, "Oh, well done on he's got a Scandinavian accent. He's like, "Well done on your activism, Drew. We just approved the Confucius Institute for 5 more years." And then everyone just laughed, and everyone was everyone at the UQ Senate meeting was laughing at me to my face. And it's a corporate board of CEOs and judges and top legal figures, and it was just stacked out with pro-establishment types, and they all just were look at this little pipsqueak kid. And I think they just thought I would fucking crack, because I went to that UQ Senate meeting where even before they tried to expel me, they had tried to intimidate me on the UQ Senate. So they brought in their top legal firm to threaten me with bankruptcy, and then eventually they even threatened me with contempt of court proceedings, because I had actually I tried to release documents that were crucial to my defense, and the university said, that's contempt of court. We'll prosecute you. We'll seek a 3-year prison sentence. So they were threatening me with even jail time. And I think they just thought that I would crack because I was this young guy and stuff like that. And like, oh, what does he know? But like, man, I held my own against them. You know, I was running rings around Peter Hoy and Peter Varghese at these Senate meetings, and it really pissed them off because they're really egotistical guys who like to think they're the smartest people in the universe, and yet with all their smarts, with all their beautiful PhDs, blah blah, like they couldn't just see that it was immoral to do business with a regime carrying out genocide as we speak.
Yeah.
So you know, it was pretty fucking cool. Just basically, really, really like just making fools of people who are just these establishment shills. They think they're the smartest people in the universe. They thought that I was this upstart pipsqueak kid that could just be cracked and brutalized and just squashed like a bug. And I just like really, really, really fuck shit out against them.
Yeah, tell us about so you did all this stuff. You suffered the storm. You weathered the storm. What are you doing now?
Yeah, what am I doing now? So, so they got. In the end, I got suspended for 6 months. They were seeking a life prison. They were seeking a life sentence on me, you know, and we got it down to 6 months. But I just kept on going with my protests, kept on going with my organizing and everything. And now we're running our own party. So to start your own political party in Australia, it's a really tough process. So originally, a couple months ago, you only needed 500 members to form your own party. And then all of a sudden the government, like, I don't know, we got to 500 members, and then the government puts out a statement saying it's going to be 1,500 members. So we go out, we try to get to 1,500 members. We get there. But then you have to go through your membership list line by line to make sure every single person is registered as an Australian voter. So you have to go to the Australian. So the major parties, they get access to the electoral data. They get access to the electoral roll just by virtue of being an established party. But if you're someone like me who's trying to start their own, you have to go to the Australian Electoral Commission offices. You have to sit there at their little like shitty computer in this dingy office. And you just have to sit there 9 to 5 the entire opening hours of the office and just go through line by line data entry. So just type in one of your member names, try search, find them on the electoral roll. Oh yeah, they're not a voter. Oh yeah, they are a voter. Just imagine that, like 50 hours worth of that. And that was what I was doing for like months. It was this long process to try set up our own party. But now we've got 2,050 members nationwide.
Great.
You know, and there are political parties in Australia who have MPs in Parliament who have less members than us now. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So like, yeah, there are political parties that are represented in Parliament that have less than 2,000 members. So we've got 2,000 members nationwide. We were just featured on 60 Minutes in Australia, which was an awesome sort of launch point, and we had hundreds of messages of support pour in, people wanting to volunteer. You know, it's awesome because so many people were saying, no, like, there's no chance to you forming your own party. There's no chance for you running. Like, just give up. It's impossible. And like, it was a slog to get that party, like to create the party. It was a slog. And now the foundation stones are set, and we're basically, it's like a milk tea alliance movement. You know, we've got my friend Max Mock, who's an Australian citizen. He went back to Hong Kong to be on the front lines of the protest movement because he felt so strongly about opposing the CCP. And Max was on the front lines of the movement in Hong Kong, and he has come back to Australia because he had friends who were part of the first round of purges with the national security legislation, and his parents were threatening to turn him into the CCP, and because they were pro-CCP. And, you know, he's really been on the front lines. Like, he's given up everything. Like, he lost his entire family. He lost that home he had in Hong Kong. He's come back to Australia. And in Melbourne, Australia, like, you know, he's been struggling. Like, he's just been working, like, odd jobs here and there, construction sites. He's been away. He's been like a waiter at Chinese restaurants. He was eating at soup kitchens for 3-4 months last year because he didn't have any money at all. His family cut him off, and it's really hard to get. Like, it was really hard to get money. You know, when Melbourne was in huge lockdown with pandemic.
Yeah.
So this guy, you know, very humble guy, and he's been on the front lines of the movement for democracy against the CCP, and he's now running against Gladys Liu in Melbourne, that United Front member who raised millions of dollars for the Liberal Party through her United Front links. You cannot draw a greater distinction. She's actually a Hong Konger herself. She's a Hong Konger herself, and she's so a part of the establishment. She couldn't call Xi Jinping a dictator. She wouldn't speak out for people in Hong Kong when the protest movement was happening. And this guy who basically like fled Hong Kong because he was going to get rounded up by the CCP, and he's come back to Melbourne, like, you know, and he's a proud Australian, and he was just basically eating at soup kitchens and stuff like that because his family cut him off. Like, he's going up against Gladys Liu. He's running for the party, Max Mock against Gladys Liu. And then we've got, and I'm so proud of this, we've got, 2 young Uyghur women running in South Australia. So, Max is 20 years old. I'm 22. Our Uyghur candidates are, Adila is our lead Senate candidate in South Australia. She's 20 years old. And she's the youngest Muslim woman to ever run for parliament. So people go, Drew's a white supremacist. Our candidate is the youngest Muslim woman to run for parliament in Australian history. Yeah. And she's the first, and alongside our other Uyghur candidate, Inti Elham, who's 27, they're the first Uyghurs to run for election in the West, in a democratic election anywhere, as far as we know. So, we're trying to give voice to these, members of these communities that, the parties in Australia, they don't want to fucking know them. They don't want to. Still, Australia refuses to say that the Uyghur genocide is a genocide. Like Canada, the US, Europe, there's been big moves to try and, respond to this genocide, and still the Australian government won't call it that. And we still don't have Magnitsky Act legislation. So we can't sanction individual officials who are responsible for the genocide. So think about, say, the top secretary for the CCP in Xinjiang. He could technically just come to Australia. Like, he could have assets in Australia. He could have an Australian bank account. He could store wealth here. And no.
Yeah, you can't go to the US.
Yeah. But Australia, he can store all the wealth he wants here. And so the major parties don't want to push. They don't want to push forward that Magnitsky Act legislation, because a lot of those Chinese billionaire donors of theirs, they'd be fucking hit, because they're all CCP type.
Yeah, seriously, Drew. Like, you're the change Australia needs.
Thank you.
I just got to say that any of our viewers out there who are Australian, please consider voting for Drew and joining his party, because
thank you, man.
It's been just too long. The CCP's been taking advantage of Australia and other countries for too long, and this is your chance to fight back. Yeah, before you just become a province of China, really.
I think it also goes past us. Like, this is not targeted only at Australian viewers. I think this goes well beyond that, because what this is pure inspiration.
Thank you.
To finally understand how, I think Drew's story may have touched you guys to understand enough about the absolute prolific nature of CCP influence in other countries, and how it quite literally is the most important issue today.
Yeah, I mean the fact that they co-opt the international students, because they're very firmly under the control of the CCP through propaganda, through their upbringing, through their education, through intimidation of family and so on. They can co-opt the international students. They can co-opt the embassies, etc., overseas, to do the bidding of the CCP, to throw their censorship overseas, to change the narratives in universities, in society, in government, politics around the world. And the rest of the world is just too naive, and they haven't really caught on to that. So your story is a fantastic way to break it open so people can see what's going on.
Too simple, maybe naive.
Yeah, Drew, why don't you wrap it up here for us and give us some final messages? I actually want you to, if you can, tell the average people out there what they can actually do, instead of posting on Twitter, fuck the CCP. Yeah. What can they actually go do out there to combat this?
I was just going to quickly say, man, I got goosebumps when you mentioned the international students, because and this has really affected me. Like, there have been multiple times where Chinese international students have actually approached me on campus, and it wasn't like I wasn't getting attacked that time. These guys came up to me and they were like, I know about Tiananmen. I really support your cause, like the pro-democracy cause. I support the people in Hong Kong, but I can't even be seen, standing next to you on campus, because there are people who watch us, and the other Chinese international students, the Chinese Student Scholar Associations that are run by the consulates, they basically monitor the students politically, and they couldn't be seen talking to me, So that stuff does happen. Exactly what you said, man. You have to do more than just post to Twitter, fuck the CCP, or Winnie the Pooh. It has to be I think people really need to get organized and really try and put pressure on politicians. What are you going to be doing about this genocide?
Right.
What are you going to be doing to sanction individual Chinese officials who are responsible for the genocide? Are you just going to allow them to continue to stash wealth in our countries? People really need to put pressure on these politicians so that they can't just get away with this anymore. They can't just turn they just can't turn a blind eye. Really need to get organized. If you're overseas, create associations, create groups that are dedicated to trying to boycott the Chinese government's genocidal events. like really put pressure on things like for example, corporate sponsors of the Beijing Olympics, or like Western companies that are doing business in Xinjiang, like for example, like even like say Volkswagen, these companies that literally have factories and they could be using Uyghur forced labor, really put pressure on those corporations. Like it has to be there has to be a big mobilization in society. It really has to be something that is, it has to be something
There's no
that, you know, is that encompasses Hong Kongers, Tibetans, Hong Kongers, and ordinary Chinese who are opposed to the CCP, like that milk and Taiwanese as well, like, you know, milk tea alliance type stuff, because it's really, really important that, you know, ordinary Chinese are not attacked and not, you know, driven into the arms of the CCP through racism and stuff like that. Like, we have to work together with these communities. That's one thing that, like, I'm really happy about our political party that we're building up here in Australia, because, like, we're working directly with these types of communities that are like being persecuted. Like, we've got Uyghur candidates, we've got Tibetans and Hong Kongers. We're going to announce our Tibetan candidate soon. So like, that's one thing I'd really encourage. Like, people, like when you form these groups and get organized and get mobilized, like link up with these local communities, like Uyghur activists in your country, Hong Kongers, Tibetan activists in your country, Chinese pro-democracy activists in this country. It's so important to just like, it's like, I honestly think there's like a global milk tea alliance movement that is sort of starting to spring up. And like,
nice.
And like you see it in Taiwan, there was the sunflower movement. You see the young people fighting in Hong Kong, like Students for a Free Tibet in Canada, Europe, and America. They've been amazing right now. Like, they've got these amazing Hong Konger and Tibetan young activists associated with them, and they just were in Greece recently, where they were disrupting like the
Olympic ceremony.
Yeah, that was really good.
Like stuff like that is amazing. So like you know, groups like that, like Students for a Free Tibet, I cannot speak more highly of them. Like try link up with people like that. Try organize with these activists, with these communities that are being directly persecuted. Because honestly, I think the long-term vision of, like, you know, Westerners, like people working together across these national divides, across these cultural divides, like whether you're European, Canadian, American, whether you're Tibetan, you're a Uyghur, you're Hong Konger, you're Chinese, you're Taiwanese, like building up this big, broad, multicultural coalition, opposing the Chinese Communist Party, calling for like putting pressure on corporations that have these blood money ties with the Chinese Communist Party, trying to put pressure on pension funds to divest. I know in Britain, Benedict Rogers and Hong Kong Watch have been really, really powerful, trying to pressure huge British pension funds to divest from China due to the genocide that's going on. We're going to try do that. With our political party, we're going to try and push for the huge super funds in Australia that are where they're invested in China. We want that divestment to occur. Honestly, I actually think that broader strategy, you know, boycott the Chinese economy, divest from Chinese companies, and sanction individual Chinese leaders, and work across these cultural divides, bringing together all the different communities that are getting persecuted. You know, Mongolians, Turkish people who are fighting Erdogan as well. Like, you know, Enes Kanter, he's doing amazing work now, speaking out for Uyghurs. Like we need this broad, global, anti-authoritarian, pro-democracy movement.
Yeah.
That's the goal, you know?
Yeah.
And you know,
thank you for saying that.
And it's really as well a story about fighting corruption, and also even fighting like the corporate oligarchs as well, because like these people, all they care about is blood money, and they've actually assisted the Chinese Communist Party in their atrocities. And so it's a broad.
Yes.
So my vision for the long-term future is this broad, decentralized, pro-democracy movement where we're fighting authoritarian dictators everywhere. We're also fighting for civil liberties and democracy at home where they're at risk. So like, for example, in Australia, we've seen big rollbacks of civil liberties and, you know, increasing surveillance and stuff like that. We want to fight against that too. Like, it has to be a broad movement to reinvigorate democracy, I think, and it has to encompass all these different communities. And that's the vision, you know, bringing together, forming alliances across the divide. And honestly, that's something the CCP really fears. That's why
That's absolutely the coolest message I've ever heard from a political party. So I would, if I was Australian, I would definitely put my name behind you.
100%, man. 100%.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'd love to be on.
Yeah, we probably will have you on again in the future to weigh in on some issues. You're a very inspirational man.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're incredibly happy that you came on, and I'm sure our viewers agree that you're a very interesting person. You're starting very important discussions, and don't stop what you're doing, mate. Yeah. And if you ever again feel like things are too overwhelming and you've reached that point where it just seems like it's too much to handle, don't worry. You've got people on your side. Yeah. You always will, and you can always count on us for support no matter what.
Honestly, we've gotten through the worst of it, and we've weathered the storm already. There's nothing more they can throw at us.
No.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So just keep going. Strength.
Fear nothing.
Yeah, from strength to strength. Onwards and upwards, mate. And we wish you the best of luck with your campaign. We're going to help as much as we can.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so again, thank you very much to Drew Pavlou for being a part of this. I think it was really a very good interview, given a lot of good insight into what actually happened there, because, I've been following the whole Drew saga from the beginning, but actually hearing some of what he had to say, it's things that you haven't heard of in the news, it's things that you haven't seen before. Really nice.
I mostly appreciate the fact that there's actually action. Usually you have people go on and say, yeah, fuck CCP, all that kind of stuff, but there's actually things you can do. If you live in a democracy, you can write your politicians, you can write your senators, you can vote for people, your congressmen, you can vote for people that can actually do things. You yourself can run for small positions, right?
Sure.
That can actually enact change. You can start organizations, you can form protests, you can do all of the stuff that pressures the CCP.
I mean, look, on top of that, you can actually just talk about it, because that helps. You never know who, you can have conversations with friends and family and strangers, whoever. But when you talk about things, you never know. There might be someone influential who's listening who
absolutely.
Can do something.
You get the right, look what Drew did.
Yeah.
He got the right people's attention. This wouldn't have happened, a lot of the things that he did wouldn't have happened if some really, really influential and powerful people didn't latch onto his message. Yeah. You got to get those kind of people's attention.
I honestly think what he's doing right now is
amazing.
Great. And great. Anyway, fantastic, guys. We are going to just motor through the Wumao Corner because we're going to do a big Q&A, which we're kind of rebranding as our hangout session, to be honest.
We'll release that next week. I think we'll do a normal Q&A today.
Oh, we're
because it's,
you don't want to do the Wumao Corner?
No, we will. No, I'm sorry. No, what I meant is that the Q&A is going to stay in this episode.
Oh, absolutely.
We have some news about the next episode.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it. It's going to be fun. Anyway, let's hit the Wumao Corner. We got a fun one for you today.
Definitely.
It's actually really funny.
Sure.
This is where we talk about the kind of hate, the internet warriors of China, the 50 Cent Army, and all the kind of things they do to attack us and others. And we got a really interesting one. Now, there's this game. What's it called again?
Subverse.
Okay, now, honestly, I hadn't heard about this game before the whole thing popped up, but there's this game. It's called Subverse. It's kind of like a sci-fi adult game.
This is not an ad. Yeah, it's not. Is it a porn game?
I think it's kind of like it's definitely no, it's definitely got like full-on pornography type.
Okay.
But it's like 3D animated. Don't worry, sorry guys, we're not going to show you any of that stuff. If you want to see that, you can go look it up. But
I mean, again, this is not an ad.
No, it's not. But it's basically a sci-fi game, right?
Some Wumao shit happened to this.
Yeah, and what's going on in this game is you fly around in a spaceship. It's kind of like also a real-time strategy RPG type thing. But it's got dating elements to it. It's got full-on, naughty stuff going on, like full-on. You can see a little bit of the trailer behind us here.
I'm very interested.
You did cut out all the bad stuff, right?
You sound very interested in this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. You know what I think I need to do quickly is let this play for a second.
Yeah, you guys can see actually what it looks like.
Yeah.
No, other way. Nope. Yep.
Sorry.
The other way.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. The point of this is not...
Sorry, there we go.
There's something important about this that's not this.
Yeah, it's not about the actual game itself.
Sorry, I'm a bit discombobulated. We just had an interview. So, anyway, the whole point about Subverse is that it was translated into Chinese.
Yeah.
Okay? And it was translated into Chinese for the... What's it called? The
Taiwanese market,
well,
the
it's
Hong
for the
Kong
Chinese-speaking market,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
So it gets released on Steam, and all of a sudden, all these Wumaos from mainland China... I'm not calling all mainland Chinese people Wumaos, but the Wumaos that went out there to their keyboard and started getting really mad. Mm-hmm. What they did was they went and did a downvote brigade.
Yeah, so if you go into Steam, I'll actually just bring it up here on my computer. You won't be able to see it, but I'll be able to tell you. Come on, Steam, open up. There we go. And if I go to the actual Subverse game, okay, if you look, it says recent reviews are mostly negative, and it has currently 1,481 downvotes.
So that's in red. It makes it look like it's bad.
Yeah, and so it comes up. Recent reviews are mostly negative, but all reviews are actually mostly positive with
Because
over 10,000
the people that bought
votes.
it, right? Yeah. So this is what happened. The Chinese market that was using a VPN to go and buy it, they were pissed off because traditional Chinese means Taiwan usually, and they hate Taiwan. They think, oh, why isn't this not made for us?
Yes.
You know? So they made this whole pity party, like pissing contest. They're getting all mad and saying,
why
like,
did you use traditional characters?
Yeah, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff.
Just quickly, for all of you out there that don't know the difference, you've got Chinese characters. Mainland China uses a simplified version of Chinese characters. It was kind of brought out by Mao Zedong and the communists. And I learned how to read and write simplified. It is much easier.
Me too, yeah.
And the reason behind this is he wanted the masses to become literate because there was a lot of illiterate people, and it's easier.
Right.
But all the other Chinese-speaking parts of the world, including America and places where you've got the Chinatowns and so on, you usually still find traditional Chinese.
Sure.
So Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, Macau, you name it, it's going to be traditional. The only place that really has simplified Chinese is mainland China. So this game obviously wanted a Chinese language version, and so they said, well, the only Chinese audience that can actually buy our game, because this kind of game, because it's pornographic, is banned in China. It will not be allowed to be sold in China, right?
Right.
So they're like, why should we make a simplified Chinese version if we can never ever sell it in that market?
Makes no sense.
Yeah,
right?
so let's make it in traditional, because the market that can buy it, Taiwan, Hong Kong, etc., they use traditional characters. So let's make it for the actual customers that matter.
Right.
So of course, the very self-important mainland Chinese internet trolls and so on, they had a hissy fit. They're like, how dare you not put it out in simplified Chinese? Made a massive downvote brigade. They all went there, downvoted the crap out of it, spammed all the forums about how horrible this game company is and all that kind of stuff. And so they released something. Well, what did they release?
Yeah, so if you go forward, it's just the best part I have in the white text.
Okay.
This is just the proof that they put out a press statement.
They put out a press statement specifically because of all the crap they were getting from mainland Chinese people.
Now keep going. Yeah,
Okay.
we don't need to read the whole epic long version.
Okay, it's pretty cool. You can go to the Steam page for all of you
Yeah,
guys.
so I'll read this though.
So then what did he say? Yeah.
So basically it says, however, so let me set this up by saying there's a bazillion comments from all these Wumaos that are like, how dare you not care about your Chinese audience?
Yes.
And I said, well, however, where the base of our Chinese users are actually coming from is quite important in terms of the localization approach. Based on the statistics and data we have available, we can see that Chinese users are not coming from the PRC.
Yeah.
In fact, zero traffic is coming from the PRC, mainland China, and that is not a surprise because adult content is illegal in the PRC. So what happened was they were like, okay, we'll entertain the idea that we have this massive Chinese audience and they feel slighted. But let me do some analytics. Oh, actually, none of the traffic is coming from mainland China because they have to use a VPN to actually go and check this out.
Yeah. There's another very funny part of this. Where was it? Someone said, as long as it comes from the Republic of China and not the PRC, mainland China has a strict policy on even on exposing skin, and not to mention nudity in porn games. So as long as it's traditional Chinese, it's okay to spend resources on. So it's basically a big diss to say, shut up, guys. You're not going to contribute anything to this. You're just moaning because they're going to pirate it anyway.
Right.
You know,
right.
they're going
you can't
to download
get it, right?
No,
So-
but they're going to pirate it. So why should they spend money and time and resources creating a specific
That's gonna
version
get
for that
pirated.
market
Yeah.
that's not going to contribute
You
at
can't
all?
buy it because the Chinese government bans it.
Yeah, it just also shows you how arrogant those netizens are.
I
It's 50
absolutely
cent
agree. And again, like, it's not fair that the Chinese government bans this kind of stuff, but that's not up to the company to have to deal with.
Yeah.
They're not going to go put in thousands of dollars to try to localize something, maybe $1 million to localize something that can't be sold.
I know.
What are you doing then? You're
Yeah,
hemorrhaging money.
you don't deserve this, China. Like that's the be all and the end all. If you want this kind of company to capitulate to you, then you should be open to this. You should have an open market, basically.
Correct.
You should allow this kind of game to be sold in China, and then they can think about it. But otherwise, don't you dare demand. You know what I mean?
No. Demand something for free.
Yeah. Okay. So that's our Wumao corner, and it's time for us to just hit our Q&A. What do you say?
We have worldview.
Oh, we do have. Sorry. Okay, we'll hit worldview very quickly.
Not important, but it's
No,
funny.
it's not, but it is funny. Okay, so worldview is where we talk about what's new with regards to China when it comes to the world, but this time it's actually got nothing to do with the world. So what is this?
So in China,
Yeah.
when they make a new development or new property, Winston and I have talked about this ad nauseum, but
Oh, yeah.
the thing is they'll put tons of money into marketing these apartments because they need people to buy them out for investment properties. So they'll have fountains, they'll have music piping throughout. My parents loved it when they first bought theirs. There was literally fountains and open pool, beautiful pools for swimming like all over. It looked like a paradise, like a freaking Roman garden or some shit. They had like stones that were piping like classical music everywhere. They had people walking around with trays of champagne and stuff to offer the people that were checking out the houses. So they have these promises, and then after people buy up all the flats, there's no more maintenance. Everything turns to mold. They shut off all the water.
They actually specifically turn off the water because of mosquitoes.
Because of mosquitoes, they form everywhere. So everything turns to shit.
Yeah, it just runs down.
If you've seen our new Chinese buildings in China really falling down video, you'll see what happens when there's so much disrepair.
Yeah.
And these places end up either getting taken advantage of by certain people or just neglected.
So we got something funny. Let's just show you. Then we'll explain to you what's going on behind us here. Let's take a look. It'll come. Hang on. There's a bit of a delay. It's a delay. It's playing, right? Yeah. It'll come. It'll come.
We're just in a black hole.
There we go. So, for those of you who may be listening to this, not watching it, what you've got a swimming pool, okay, in one of these developments. No one's swimming in it, but what's happening is all the IEs, and an IE means auntie, okay? It's a specific...
And for Americans, that means like an older lady. That's not a grandma. I mean, she's a grandma age, but not like 90.
No. Just like kind of a,
50,
it's a specific
60.
generation in China, which they all kind of, let's just say, very uneducated because they went through the purges and the bad days of Mao Zedong and all that stuff. So a lot of them aren't educated. A lot of them are kind of very rural in their mindset and so on. And what they're doing is they're using the swimming pool water to just wash their clothes. And that's what they're doing in a medieval style of beating it with a stick, that kind of thing. So they'll do this because guess what? The water's free. They don't have to pay for it in their apartments. So you'll find this a lot in China. It's like, 就是免费的 最好. So if something's free, they'll go like walk across town to get like a free bottle of water. Even though they sweat it all out, they're on the way back. Doesn't matter. If it's free, they'll use it. So that's what they're doing here is they're using the swimming pool to beat their clothing.
It's a really good insight into this lost generation culture. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Anyway, it's time for us to hit our Q&A where we answer your questions and you question our answers. So let's do it.
Free Speech Respecter says, hey guys, I'm in the shower. Can you speak up a little? I'm washing my Dazics.
Okay, you mean your...
Return to Orc Monkey. It must feel great sleeping on that cotton.
Oh, indeed. Oh, this...
He's doing so in such a classy way. Real Chinese manners there.
Oh, yeah. There's a bit of...
Hung Fran, thank you very much. Doc Slothington. Old Doc Slothington back again for the best time of the week. That great guy.
Yeah, oh, that...
Great.
Is, as Winston would say, ugly on the outside, ugly on the inside.
I mean,
no, we don't know that.
No, he's probably a really nice guy.
He seems really cool.
I feel like he
seems nice.
When you look at his face, right?
I like him.
When you look at his face,
Great.
it almost looks like he's doing it under duress. You know?
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm on his side about this. Like he might have been like, crap. You know, like we actually saw some of the shills do this. I'm not even gonna call him a shill yet.
Not yet. We don't know.
Until I see more media from him. But
it's just a very bad reporter working for the Chinese state media.
Yeah, but we saw some of the other shills do this. Say, I would never work for the Chinese government. I would never work for Chinese state media. And then they do a little thing like, oh, it was just a trip.
Yeah.
And then they make excuses for it. And then full on co-opted like a news reporter for the CCP.
Yeah,
and that's what I feel like he probably sees this coming. He's like, great. Like he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah,
you know
sure.
I give him the benefit of the doubt.
Probably a really nice guy.
He seems cool. But beautiful void.
Okay.
What? Why is that funny?
No, he's not a beautiful void.
Okay. Puenko Jammy, thank you very much. Gabriel, how do you feel about the heavy snow in China while people still stay out working, doing whatever it takes to survive? It's maybe not as bad as you might think.
Yeah, I know. It's being hyped up a lot. Look, there's snow every year.
There's a lot of channels out there that are like, this is the end of the CCP because look at the snowstorms. Look at this. Dude, it's weather.
Yeah, it happens every year. They're pretty well kitted out in most of the northern cities to deal with this.
It's not like Western standards, but it's okay.
No. But the big issue this year really is just the lack of coal and how expensive coal is. So that's the biggest worry is that, a lot of people are trying alternative methods to stay warm, and I'm just hoping that they do manage to stay warm.
I agree. Alberto Waldo says, I found you guys from the Bing Chiling Social credit memes. So
Okay.
glad I did. And he says, Bing Qiling 再见.
Okay.
Which means goodbye
Bye-bye
ice cream.
yeah.
Alphabet says, why hasn't Xi Jinping went overseas for 21 months? There's a lot of speculation on
Yeah,
that.
it's all about the power struggle. I think now that he's kind of cemented as, well, we always knew he would be, as a leader again for life, I think it's going to calm down a bit. Maybe he'll start going places now.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Paris Bishop, thank you very much. Poinko Jamie says, hey, C-Milk, if you're looking for K-pop recommendations, I recommend Pristine Wee Woo. There's a great one. All right, let me copy-paste that.
Sounds right up your alley.
I mean, I passively listen to K-pop because it's in those shows that I watch.
Yep.
I'm watching Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha right now. Very good show. Koala 1203, Formosa, number 1. Here's free $2 alm money. Thank you very much. You don't need to pay alms.
Yeah.
Ryan
Thank
G.
you.
I hear the term Wumao is offensive. The correct job title is Spam Witch Artist.
Spam
Show
witch
your
artist.
Chinese
I like
manners.
that, actually. Spam witch artist.
Merrick Robin, thank you. Numty says, wake up to see you guys doing an episode on Drew. So good. He is going in hard against the CCP. Much love, mates. Keep fighting.
That's honestly the best thing about Drew is that he's got the courage to stand up, and he, it came out
got
of
the
left
Dazics.
field. Yeah, he's got the, what do they call him? For those of you who've forgotten who Peter Daszak is, he's the guy who helped the Chinese government cover up the spread of COVID and was in their corner the whole time, still is. It shows you how cheaply you can sell your soul for a little bit of baijiu on a KTV. Anyway, at the end of the day, Drew's a fantastic guy. And look, go follow him on Twitter. We've got his links down below, but, follow him on Twitter. Give him
Yes.
a bit of support. I mean,
He's got a patron as well.
yeah, even if you're not Australian or whatever, give him a little bit of support. The guy needs it. He's standing up against the powers that be.
Yeah, I don't think the nationality doesn't even matter at this point
Yeah.
because he's on the side of good and he's got all his links down below.
Yeah,
in the
no,
description.
he's the change. I said it before in the interview, but he's the change Australia needs. But he's also the change the world needs because we need a Canadian Drew. We don't have a Canadian Drew.
Yeah,
We've
we
got
need a Canadian Drew.
We've got a kind of a South African Drew, and we've got a kind of an American Drew here. But we need a Canadian Drew. We need a New Zealand Drew. We need a everywhere
need some
around the
Drews.
world Drew.
Female, male Drews.
Yes, exactly.
Drews of every race, creed, and culture.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
need
want
to-
to think of a joke about Drew, but
Well,
Drew doesn't rhyme with anything.
He really drew on his inner strength.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
yes.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Anyway.
What rhymes with Drew other than brew?
Poo, I don't know. That's not a good one, though. Yeah. I don't know. But in South Africa, we say brew. My brew means my brother. So, yeah, Drew the brew.
Could be that. That could be that.
Exactly.
Kay says, thanks for keeping me company on Friday Eves in UK. What is a Friday Eve?
Friday evening.
I got you. I thought you meant like the day before Friday. Friday Eve.
No. That's absolute pleasure. Man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Clarenda Ryder says, in the end, if China doesn't succeed in taking Taiwan, what will happen in China afterwards? That will be a massive change in power structure because they'll have to answer to the people that said, hey, wait, did we just lose to an island?
I think, they'd probably keep it under wraps and pretend
Also,
like,
there
look,
would
we completely took it over.
Yeah.
We can't go there right now. It's radioactive.
There would absolutely be coups all over the country.
Yeah.
Tim Law, I always look forward to watching your videos every week. Keep up the great work and stay awesome.
Absolute pleasure.
Peter Martin, Lightseeker, just a reminder, if you tweet Pinocchio gifts to Dr. Ballsack, he will block you. ADV does not endorse
No, we
brigading.
don't. We don't.
No,
Absolutely not. It's just somebody did send us that they've been...
Nope, we laughed.
Yeah, they've been tweeting Pinocchio gifts at Peter Ballsack, and he blocked
It's to
it.
go away with his dad. It's to go with his dad's act.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway.
It shows. Cesario JPN says, makers of hentai game Subverse are being review bombed by Steam.
Yeah, we just talked about
Oh,
that.
yeah. We just talked about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
CCP can ligma pee. Good to see that this show's going strong. Here's a couple beers.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I will drink them as I work on my Trans Am.
Free speech.
By the way, it's back. And yes, I had to get it towed. It didn't make it very far. There's more about that in the near future.
Yes.
Let's just say when you leave it in a shop like where I did.
How did you end up with more problems?
Yeah, I mean, the wiring was all out of whack. The wasn't firing on all cylinders. A lot of things happened, but you know what? It's back. I'm working on it. It's fixed. It's awesome. I'm so happy. I got videos to release that I filmed while I was trying to get it on the way back here and stuff. So you'll see them.
Free Speech Respecter says, C-Milk, do you still miss Dronio? I do, but he's been replaced twice over now.
Yeah, we haven't flown drones in a while.
No.
Last time we did was when we were up in Vegas.
No, we did it when we filmed our new property. but it wasn't for
Oh
YouTube.
yeah, that wasn't. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. We don't want that to really get out there.
Probably not.
Probably like, oh look, this is the target right here.
Probably not a good idea.
No.
Mafsiada, is the CCP still destroying the old culture like Mao?
It's weird what they're doing. They're trying to claim old culture, which the remnants, which they're responsible for destroying. They're trying to claim it, but they're trying to rewrite it as if it's the communists that actually are responsible for the ancient Chinese culture or something. It's really weird what they're doing. Either way, it's a mess and it's ugly.
Max Chong says, coming from Hong Kong, honestly, I find it quite insulting when Westerners complain about how authoritarian their governments are.
Yep.
And we agree with you, my dear friend Max Chong.
I am so tired of Americans complaining all the time.
Stop!
Wow.
I mean, do something about it. That's great. Do something about it, but stop the whinging.
Yeah, it's just like, I can get it. If you're dissatisfied with your own government and you complain about this and that, that's okay.
That's fine.
I get it.
Yeah.
But stop trying to compare it.
Don't compare.
When you say
the USA is not North Korea and it's not becoming like China.
No, it's got nothing to do with those places. And trust me, having grown up in South Africa and lived in China for, half my life, quarter of my life, whatever the hell it was, America has got nothing on that stuff. You cannot compare the two. And that's what annoys me. It's like, sure, complain about your problems, but that's kind of like saying, ooh, this freaking watermelon is the same size as a pea. You just can't do that. Anyway,
Right.
Let's continue on.
He says, come to my land and see what it feels like to lose freedom.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We saw that happen.
Yes. We were there right before.
We were there
it all went down.
during it.
Yeah.
I was there in the 2014
No, I'm talking about the
protests.
latest one.
Yeah. We were there during that, just
big
before
fall.
that too, yeah.
Power shift. Dumb question, guys. Is your Patreon affected by demonetized videos? No. If you support us on Patreon, we really appreciate it.
Yes.
That's what carries us through the month.
Massively appreciate it. Thank you.
We appreciate all your hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah JPN says, Winston got himself a sponsorship. Bad?
Yes, it's not a Taiwanese beer sponsorship.
Sea Milk needs to step up and get... I did step up, Cesario. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we tried.
They didn't care.
I just, that the video that I released this morning was actually kind of just at the end of the morning, the one about the terrible fishing nonsense that's going on. I put
Didn't you release it at like 3?
What? Yeah, sorry, you know what I mean, like afternoon. It's got such a subtle advert in it. I'm surprised people even picked up on it.
Yeah.
It's incredibly subtle. Yeah.
Frederick York, any updates on Josh Rogan coming on the show? What?
Oh, I don't know.
He's an expert on Dazek.
He's an expert on who? I don't know. Maybe he's related to Joe Rogan.
I don't even think it's the same. Who's this?
No idea.
American journalist who formed as a Washington Post and analyst, political analyst. Was he supposed to come on the show?
No.
Sounds pretty cool.
It'd be nice if he did.
Imperator Salt. 3 months, boys. Thank you very much. I'm doing a military course on Mandarin. Can't wait to learn it. These videos help. I learned Bing Chiling thanks to Zhong Xina.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice, good
Excellent.
one. Stead3111, watching you guys for years. I saw Hong Kong before it was taken away. Thanks to you guys. Beers on me. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Jeffrey Sneezo says, she's in the front room, Uyghurs in the back, Dazek's in the alley with the Wuhan bats.
Okay, that's an interesting
sounds
little
like
thing.
some sort of song. Mike S says, dark thought. China can't import food that's needed to feed its populace by sea during a time of war, and India is the closest place for fertile land. That is dark indeed. How about you keep those dark thoughts out of your head?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
We're not there yet.
Who knows?
We don't want to be there. Mike S, even worse is the fact that the native Indian population living there will be perceived as potentially hostile.
Well, look, if anything like that happens, the Indian Army's there to step up.
I guess, yeah.
Absolutely, they are. They're quite the fighting
I know.
force.
I'm saying this is like
down. Oh, I mean, the Indian Army's they're not going to just roll over.
No, my point is this conversation is rather unnecessary. We're not going to war right now.
I know, but India and China are skirmishing all the time.
They're skirmishing. Anyway. You're right. You're absolutely right.
So
CCP.
they're prepared for this. It won't blindside them.
No. Ed Garrow says CCP is the only government who acts like Karen. Yeah, they do act like a Karen, don't they?
You know what's kind of funny is when the Indian Air Force actually picked up the Chinese stealth fighters.
I love that.
And like when they were practicing over the border there, so on Chinese territory, they actually picked them up. So I guess they're not very stealth. Because the Indian Army were like using like F-16s or something and picked them up. Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of funny.
Says, happy Friday. I understand that Germany's economy is largely automotive, and the industry is still lusting for the Chinese market. So pressure to snuggle the CCP. Yeah, we mentioned that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Free Speech Respecter says, do you hate the Raiders because they cheat and accuse other teams of cheating? That's one of many reasons. The fan base, which I'm sure there's lots of great Raiders fans out
Raiders
there.
Nation, or whatever you say. Is it Raider Nation? I don't really know. There's this. I came across this most fantastic vehicle the other day. It was like this old Crown Victoria, and it had like Raider Nation like on the back of it, and the whole side
That's
of
pretty
it.
much every Crown Victoria, probably.
Okay, but it had like the whole side was an American flag. Someone hand painted it on there. It was actually, it's not a sticker. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's some America right there, you know?
Yeah.
Tinted windows, you know?
Real distilled Americana.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And you got to make sure that all the stickers and stuff were made in China for sure.
Yeah.
You know, like stickers that say like, fuck everyone except America, but it's like made in China.
It's got an AR-15,
stickers.
come take it, I dare you.
But it's
you know?
made in China.
Yeah, sure.
And they buy a Chinese AR-15,
Yeah.
like knockoff or something. Jeffrey Sneezos, been a fan since 2017, still love your content. Keep it up, and can't wait for you guys to go on adventure more places. Timo gave me advice on going to China to meet my now wife's parents for the first time.
Yeah, good.
I hope it went well. Fanny Schmeller, Winston, go to Aruba and practice your Dutch. What?
Ach nee man, ik wil niet die taal praten. Nie.
Moritz Stripmatter says, as a German, I agree with the sentiments on Mrs. Merkel. Thank you very much. It's nice to hear that.
Yeah.
I also know that German wind turbine technology is co-opted for military purposes, probably.
Makes sense.
Griffin Yera, my Miata has been in the garage for a while I put on my new suspension, tires, rims, roll bar. And I finally know how Winston feels with this Trans Am.
It's awful. It was over a year. It's like a year, 3 months or something.
Yeah.
And, you know, spoiler alert, it got to the point where the shop actually didn't finish. So when I actually got it, it was missing like trim around the windows, and they like a lot of small little things they didn't finish, and I had to actually end up doing it myself. All the rubber like weather seals and stuff weren't in the car. It had just got to a point where I was just getting so fed up, and I guess they knew that this was never going to end. They were just like, come take it, you know, like you can finish up the rest of it. Just come take it. We'll give you a little. It'll cost you a little less than we're going to charge you.
Except they destroyed your car in the process.
Yeah, they didn't do. I mean, the body works great. And the paint looks nice.
Yeah, it does. Cavaliotis Ionios. Thank you very much. Clorinda Ryder, thank you very much, Clorinda. Dragon's fourth child. Germany and the CCP relations suffered because of tax evasion and essentially CCP money buying German companies, legal industrial espionage. Logo app, I've told your cousin how proud of you are of making my avatar.
Okay.
And he told me how proud he is of all you do, sharing the evils of the CCP. I'm so glad that you managed to meet up with him. Hege Sverige, which is Sweden, helped me with a short and concise text for a poster to demonstrate outside the Chinese embassy. Greetings from Stockholm, Sweden. Can you send us an email?
Yeah,
we'll definitely help you out.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Black Halo 6, this is wild, makes a rage build in me. I'm talking about Pavlou's story.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. Read more into it. He was actually on 60 Minutes Australia.
Oh, he's been all over the news. Yeah.
That was a pretty good
New
interview.
York Times.
Yeah, you got to go check it out.
Marco Kane, good on you, Drew. Keep up the good fight. These Confucius Institutes need to be wiped from all uni campuses worldwide. Agreed.
Yes, I've been trying my best to put that message out for years now. Ever since 2016, when I went to go speak at the University of Arizona, and there was a Confucius Institute group came into the room and were taking notes and trying to interrupt my presentation all the time and
trying to
force the narrative and stuff. I was like, what's going on? This is America, and I'm trying to be censored in
your own speech.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell's going on? So yeah, Confucius Institute, so bad
They're
news.
just nests for thug CCP operatives. Your movement should be global. Yes, you're correct. Yeah. I heaven see the answer. I wanted to. Jason Behrens Jr., first time watching your podcast from Norway.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we love to hear it. This one says, Goren, which means like a caring
loving
foreigner,
heart.
loving, caring foreigner.
I remember when I used to teach at that kindergarten, it was called like Aishinpei, like loving heart preschool, whatever.
Yeah. Could you explain the concept of face or losing face? When the government lies so blatantly and constantly gets caught in their lies, wouldn't that mean they're losing face? How come they don't seem to care? They are.
There's a weird thing that happens. It's like sometimes a person can lose face publicly, but everyone ignores it because they know they want to give that person or the government
have too much face.
Yeah, it's like, so they ignore it. They'll see something like it's like if you see someone walking down the road and they like trip and they like make a fool of themselves and they quickly like straighten themselves up and you're like, I'm just going to pretend I didn't see that. That's kind of the attitude, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that.
See that a lot.
Yeah. I haven't seen says, astonished by Drew's horrific incident in the CCP power in Queensland. Australia needs to do some home cleaning. I'm not a fan of the CCP, but I do feel sorry. Old Matey says, hi, Winston. When is your true inner American going to shine through and you create a gun review channel?
I mean, now that we're out here in Pennsylvania, it's a lot easier to go out and shoot things and, you know, like set up things. But I don't know if I'd ever make that into a career, if you know what I mean. It's a bit weird. That doesn't... I've been a legal gun carrier my whole life in South Africa. Since I was 16, I've been carrying a gun. And it's something that I think is a necessity, but I'm not the kind of person who's like a show off or whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm not going to be like, oh, my guns. I think it's a tool. It's necessary. You need to know your gun safety. And I can appreciate guns. I do like them. But I don't think I could ever start a channel.
It's not your like life's mission.
I mean, no, not at all.
Burr Papa. TR with a nice donation, but message retracted. Maybe that's actually what they typed out. Who knows?
Thank you.
Nanda Mari, I enjoyed this interview. More, please. The world needs to know the truth about the CCP. Keep up the great work. And we will. We'd like to have people on that we not necessarily only see eye to eye with, but that you find interesting. We think Drew is that.
Yeah.
Chuck Tilley, Beer Money, thank you very much. Pasky 303, eat your glass.
Eat glass, you can't. Beep. You know, the thing is, in Australia, that's not actually such a terrible swear word.
Yeah, it's a soft swear word.
Yeah, exactly.
Here it's very harsh.
It's pretty harsh.
It's the worst, actually.
Yeah. So what would you say in comparison here? Like you bastard or something?
Yeah, you bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah, you that's fine. That's like a PG-13.
Yeah, exactly.
But the C word is like, wow. That's
not in Australia.
CUNTS is like,
whew. Yeah, it's a bit much. Not in Australia, though.
No, and again, he can say it all he wants. He's Australian.
I don't think... we were saying this earlier, like, we're talking about this, like, eat glass is not so much of a terrible insult, because you're giving the person an option.
It's like not even an ultimatum. It's like, at your own leisure, please eat some glass.
Take a plate with some crushed glass in it, and then sit down and
doesn't
leisurely
even say
eat it.
Crushed glass. Could be anything, really.
Yeah,
it could
exactly.
be smooth marbles.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be swallowing marbles. That's glass. So it's not like you're saying, like, I'm going to shove broken glass down your throat or something.
Right.
It's like, eat glass. You cunts. Sorry. Anyway.
Max Jones says, the worst thing about Chinese nationalists abroad is how they all too often expect you to think like them if you are ethnically Chinese. Yes. Our Chinese dissident friends, or people that are sympathetic to Chinese democracy that are Chinese people, even people that are from mainland China that move here. Actually, I was speaking to one last night. And the conversation we were having was terrifying, because they said, when I first moved here, I thought I could speak my mind.
Yeah.
And now it's so bad that I can't even do that. Not for fear of family and stuff. It's for fear of even people around me, right? I can't even be associated with people like you as much as you're my friend, because we can't talk about this stuff, because people will pass it around, and I'm some sort of traitor, you know? And it's like, even if you support the American ideals and all this kind of stuff, they can't be public about that anymore, even if they live here.
I know, it's terrible. And the problem is, are these little WeChat groups and stuff, you know? Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I get it. When Chinese people immigrate and they go overseas, you need to find familiarity. It's the same with us when we were living in China. You find the little expat groups. You hang out with expats. You got a little phone group where you can bitch about, like, the things that piss you off in China, you know, where you can find out where to buy cheese or whatever, because it's not possible in most places. You know, so you've got your little groups, and they do that in the States or in Australia or whatever. The Chinese immigrants do that. But unfortunately, it's kind of ends up becoming a spy network, you know, where they'll be like, hey, there's this guy who's anti-China who lives in the street or something like that. And then it gets out through this WeChat group all the way back to China, and the wrong people hear about it. And especially if it's an ethnic Chinese person, it can get them into trouble, or their extended family. It literally just becomes an extended arm of the securities, you know, the Chinese security forces. It's terrible that, you know, these things get co-opted, all these Xiaohongshu, all this crap, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
He said they expected a Hong Konger such as me to think like them. And that's the worst part, is that you don't think like them. And a lot of Chinese people don't think like them, but they have to keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, it's silly. Well, not for long. I think it's got to be a point where you're like, no, shut up.
Yes.
Especially, and I hate to do this, and I'm polite about it, but whenever I'm kind of in public and I hear a Chinese person say, like, just your Uyghur and blah, 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 which just means, like, these foreigners, this or that, I'll be very polite. I'll be like, hang on a second, you're actually the foreigner here,
Right. Like you.
Yeah, I'm a foreigner too. But that's the thing. It's like, I'm just getting to that point where it's like, yeah, enough's enough.
All right. David Brooks, to what extent can a supporter of China say, have you ever been to China? Say to an opposer who accuses the CCP of crimes against humanity that has never been to China.
Have you ever been to Nazi Germany?
I mean...
You know what I mean? You don't need to necessarily have been to a place to know it's bad. You don't need to swallow cyanide to know it's poison.
Right.
There are certain things that, the facts are out there. People know. You can discuss things. You don't have to have been there to be an authority. We have been there. We lived for vast periods of our life in China, so we've got the hands-on experience. So use our videos as an example if you have to.
Agreed. Sander, thank you very much. I think I know you, Sander. Jerry Su, support Zhang Zhan, who deported from Wuhan about COVID in early 2020. She was sentenced for 4 years by the CCP, and now she's in Shanghai jail. Her life is in danger. We cannot let her die in CCP jail. Yeah, it's terrible.
Anyone who's being persecuted by the CCP is needs
Sucks.
a bit of support. Yeah.
David Brooks, how cheeky is it of the Canadian CCP shill to say that the American dream is in Chongqing, China, and that they don't even care about America? Why should they care?
Yeah,
I think I know who you're talking
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. It's Drone Boy.
Is it Drone Boy?
It's Drone Boy, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Here's the thing. Listen, guys, to all these shills out there, and there are plenty of them, by the way, a fair amount. I wouldn't say there are too many, but there are plenty of them, who constantly go on about how amazing China is and how shit America is and how shit Canada is. Here's a challenge. Revoke your citizenship. Get Chinese citizenship. That's the challenge I have to you. I mean, if you really believe that's the case,
get stateless and then ask the CCP to take you in and give you citizenship.
Get Chinese citizenship. Prove it.
Prove that you can do it and prove that you want to do it and get rid of your other citizenship.
Because, first of all, it's not possible to become a Chinese citizen.
Well, that's up to them. That's up to them. They said you can do everything. Everything's more convenient in China.
I'll tell you one thing. I'll take your Canadian citizenship off your hands. I'll trade you for my South African one. How about that?
Agreed. That sounds just about right.
Yeah. I'd like to see that, because then, you're putting your money where your mouth is. Because a lot of these people...
Was it Drone Boy or was it Alcoholic Old Man?
No, it's Drone Boy.
Oh, it's Drone Boy. Okay.
It's Drone Boy. In Chongqing.
Gotcha.
He started that whole
Makes sense,
Chongqing.
yeah. But because Alcoholic Old Man, all those people were over there too, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, it's definitely
Makes
Drone
sense.
Boy. Yeah.
LA Goomba, literally, what the... Wow. Thank you so much.
That's incredibly generous. Thank you so much.
Where the hell? Yeah, that's amazing, LA Goomba. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
What do we got next?
Crabman says there's an ancient Chinese saying, which I just came up with.
Oh, okay.
Chef 1190 says, catching you guys live again, doing night shift here in India. Any bikes you're interested here in India? Yeah,
obviously.
Royal Enfield.
Yeah, Royal Enfield Bullets. Sure. And that's the bikes we're planning to ride across, India when we get the chance.
Yeah. David Brooks says, have you played Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross JRPGs? Both.
Yes. I actually
love
just
those games.
A couple of months ago finished Chrono Trigger for the first time.
And I actually started Chrono Trigger again the other day. Weirdly enough.
Amazing. Yeah.
Are you in my head? Tiberia 7. Thank you. Black Halo 6 still going ham. Shill's going ham in the chat today. Looks like Drew was followed over here. We saw that. That's funny. Hey, Whole Salad says, how's Peter Balsack been?
Oh, good old Peter Balsack. The thing is, he's been under fire.
He's trying to weasel his way out, by the way.
He's been posting things on his Twitter to say there's a fact check that this didn't happen. He's really trying to cover his tracks.
He's trying to blame Lao.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, I think he realizes that he's potentially in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And so he's trying his best to cover his tracks. And the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, he is instrumental in this whole COVID thing in a big way. And he's not ever going to be able to escape that. Justice will prevail.
Yeah.
And he's a sweaty ballsack right now, I'm pretty sure.
My guess, yeah, for sure. Victor Washington, thanks for inviting Drew, a true activist. Well, what a sobering revelation of the extent of the CCP's tentacles into Australia's universities. And it's not just that if that's happening there, it's happening everywhere.
It's definitely happening in the States in a big way.
Sure.
I mean, we've
I would say to
ourselves.
A lesser extent than Australia, but that doesn't mean it can't get worse.
Yeah.
Jennifer, 60 Minutes Australia has been really good at being a voice against the Chinese government interference, and they've had lots of videos on YouTube. We've noticed that.
Yes.
Marit Stripmatter, awesome stuff in this episode. The shills are shivering.
Certainly are.
David Brooks, Drew, what would you say to a CCP shill? He'd probably tell them to swallow marbles. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we offer it to them politely.
Yes, exactly.
Free speech respecter. When do you think of Great Britain? What?
When you think of Great Britain, which
Oh,
iconic
sorry.
figure comes into your heads? Obviously, for me, that's Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people will
I was gonna
try to say
I was
something
gonna say
weird about that.
Shakespeare.
Okay. No, for me, it's
yeah.
definitely Winston Churchill. I mean, I'm named after the guy. Yeah.
Right. Tree Theodore, share, like, promote. Thanks to all three gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Finger Painter Burke. Good to have you
Finger
here.
Burke.
Ever listen to the American
Burkhold.
punk band Schlong? We have.
Yes.
They're famous in the Chinese knockoff city of Hallstatt. We saw that. I think they even had their record up there.
They did.
I recommend their album Fish Booty. We put our name behind that album as well.
Yeah,
Fantastic
exactly.
music. That is the deepest meme super chat I've ever read, and I congratulate you and I anoint you, ADV brethren.
Yes.
Free speech respecter is South Africa. How strong is the taxi mafia?
Very
It
strong.
runs the country, doesn't it?
No, I got to tell you, they run the townships,
townships,
and
yeah.
they're terrifying. And I've seen the aftermath of some taxi wars. In one particular case, I was driving. There were 14 dead bodies lying on the side of the road that had just been shot up. A taxi had been shot up by a rival taxi organization with AK-47s. These guys are brutal. They go into the townships and they mete out like vigilante justice. They are terrible. They're terrifying. Absolutely
Don't
terrifying.
say too many bad things about them.
Psh, what are they going to do?
They watch the
Hop in
show.
there like High Ace and, their
Go
Toyota
across
High
the
Ace.
ocean.
Yeah, and like drive it and convert it into a boat and come make a taxi route in our neighborhood? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah,
They're
but
gonna
they are terrifying.
They're going to have to put up with all the rednecks around us with shotguns.
Yeah, true.
SYO, respect Pavlou for
Mm-hmm.
voicing the minority. However, the impression you gave us Australians is that you don't put enough thought to what you say.
Really? Who?
You.
Me?
Yeah, because you called them weaklings.
No, I call them sissies.
Sissies, I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry, but I will stand by that because I grew up seeing Australia as a strong nation with Crocodile Dundee as the hero with his big knife and, throwing canned beans at people and stuff. I grew up with that image, and then just seeing how China rolled over Australia really kind of took the wind out of my sails. And you have to understand, like, I know Australians are tough, and Australia and South Africa have a lot of similarities in just the culture and the way people are. And so that's why I can give them a ribbing like that, because at the end of the day, obviously, I know that the Australian people are strong and great, but seeing them roll over for the CCP in so many ways has really, really just, I gotta insult you guys so that you fix yourself so I can be proud of you again.
I would say less sissy and more like, don't let your establishment become so corrupted by a foreign government. Vote for the correct people.
When the milk powder stuff started happening, the Daigou thing,
Yeah.
just starting with that, I was like, how are you allowing this to happen?
Right. Right.
And then it just went from there, and it got worse and worse.
Jin Frank, Wall Street will help CCP to win.
Yeah.
Will
How?
it?
I mean,
Will it though?
Wall Street?
Yeah.
Well, maybe because they're always investing in all these like BlackRock or whatever. They keep investing in Chinese.
I mean, in a way.
Some other big investment firms just started to buy up the real estate debt in China. Come on, guys. Just stop. Let it
We should
sort
bring that
itself
up at some
out.
point,
Yes,
actually.
come on.
Winston,
Guy's got a point. Anyway.
Winston, Matt, Drew, thank you, legends. Yeah, he
Yeah,
does
it's a
have
pleasure.
a point, actually. Global Village Drunk, keep it up, ADV and Drew. Inspiring stuff.
Cool.
Panama Chong says, not sure if I missed it, but have you said anything about the Lake Changjin movie? Seems
No.
like China is really stoking anti-American views at the moment.
I know, and the worst thing about
Yeah.
that movie is it actually shows the failures of the Chinese Communist Party. They are the ones responsible for the deaths, sending in their troops hastily without preparing them with winter gear. All the deaths are from
Mao-
freezing to death, not from actual
And Mao
conflict.
knew the casualties and kept doing it.
Yeah.
He did.
Well, actually, Taiwan should be grateful because those troops that were sent in to fight the Americans were the elite troops that had been trained to take over Taiwan.
Yep.
And they were going
They're
to
wasted.
take over Taiwan by force, but then they got sent up there and they all froze to death.
Yeah.
And so Taiwan was spared.
Smart move. PB, applaud Drew's giant brass Balzacs.
Yeah. Okay, we better give him a...
Ooh, a quick one.
Yeah.
You two, thank you for you two for using your platform for eye-opening long-form interviews. Keep fighting the good fight.
It's a pleasure.
Maxim Stepanek says, did you hear from the Confucius Society that they censored a book about Xi Jinping that backfired? I have a license for fishing.
Okay.
That's awesome. And I don't know that that backfired. I only heard that they stopped the meeting or whatever, and that's love from Croatia.
From here, it looks like an Indian flag. I just got to say, what
This?
from this distance, it looks orange and I mean.
Oh, it's definitely red, white, and blue.
Okay, sorry. This screen's all the way over there.
Pete Tran, Free Britney work. Hashtag Free Britney worked. Hong Kong is next. True that, Pete. Serena, aloha from Hawaii. Keep up the great. The interview was great.
Oh, it was
Great.
A-Tech, C-Milk, get yourself a haircut. I'm working on it.
Oh man, wow, was it difficult to get a haircut. We tried the whole day yesterday, but it was Veterans Day. Here in the States where everyone...
We're not veterans.
We're not veterans, and, respect to all the veterans. Most places give out free haircuts.
We live in a very, type of area, and that was catering to the veterans, which is fantastic. It was just the worst day we could have chosen.
Yeah, because there were lines out the door, of people getting free haircuts.
And thank you to all our veterans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you for your service. I'm not American, but the fact that America is the way it is today is largely due to people like you, and there's a lot of respect for that.
Absolutely agree with that. Black Halo 6 says opening scene of the game looked like a space butthole. I kind of did.
I think if you listen to the audio, I think that's kind of what it's supposed to be.
Is that what it says? I didn't listen to that.
You can go watch the thing yourself.
Xiao Yi Lin says, they gave some money. Thank you very much. Lockville Zoo says, Winston, did you get your car? Oh,
yes. I can't wait for you to hear it. It sounds amazing.
It does. It sounds good. They knocked something loose in there. It sounds good.
Yeah, well, actually, I fixed a lot of the problems in it. I improved it.
Does sound good.
Yeah.
Some guy with a name says, great ball sack.
Sack.
Black Halo 6 says, but they can only play 2 hours a week. You're right.
Yes.
Soto Sianapolis, thank you very much.
Very generous, thank you.
Mario Bermuda says, have you guys covered the explosions happening in China and the bomb threats in various USA schools this week? We have not covered it.
The explosions are largely due to lack of maintenance and the Chabador nature and the bribery that goes on in China.
Which
There've
means
been a
like
lot
half-assed.
there's been a lot of gas explosions and stuff, and that's because these places aren't, they're supposed to have safety inspections, but they just pay someone. Or they just don't want to do it, so they just sign off as if it's been done, and that's what leads to these. And they just kind of all happen at the same time. Remember, people are relying more and more on gas and stuff because it's getting cold.
Right. Yeah. Koala1203 says, we got 2 sessions. We've got 2 sessions. For the fragrance, for the fragrance we bless into the world, we show our affection. See, we've got 2 sessions. And I would agree with you.
Let me show you.
That would be one of the next lines. And I would agree with you, Koala, and I would extend that sentiment to you by saying that when we meet satisfied Popeye, we'll really...
The large rolling by or whatever.
We'll really achieve what we've been looking for. Sam Noah, hello, love the show. Question for Winston. How much do you like Mass Effect?
It's honestly one of my favorite game series of all time. I absolutely adore it, and I've just recently played the Legendary Editions again. Really, really cool. Such a good game. Such a good universe, Kind of got a little bit let down, by Andromeda, but that's life.
Yes. Red Chill says, 73 says, grew up here, 14 years. Grew up there. He's talking about China.
Okay.
Gotta say they systematically brainwashed the kids effectively. Xiao Xiantui and the Gongqing Tuan, CCP, the mandatory military training before school starts, and made me like a CCP robot for the month following. I was 13. And yes, and only people like you that have gone through that would really truly understand what that's like.
That's the thing, yeah. People don't realize how
Thank you
bad
for
it
telling
is.
us about that. Richard says the CCP has removed China's 2-term limit. Now Xi Jinping can be secretary for life. What is your opinion on this? It's fucking terrible.
And that's what we were expecting all along. There's no surprises there.
Yep. Juan Pablo says, Mayo Taliban, Jio Mayo Afuhan, which means without the Taliban, there would be no Afghanistan.
Yeah. There's a famous song that you hear them singing.
Mayo, by the way, that's not a very respectful thing to say.
No. They were saying like Mayo Gongchandan Jiu Mayo Xinjiangguo, which means if there's no Communist Party, there'd be no new China. You know what? That's true. And it's a tragedy that there's a new China. It should have been the old China.
And you know what the most hilarious tidbit about that is that the original song is Mayo Jiang Kai-shek, Jiu Mayo Xinjiangguo, and the Communist Party stole
the song. They knocked off the song. It's actually the Nationalists.
It's the prior party.
Yeah, isn't it Mayo Kuomintang?
Yeah, Mayo Kuomintang.
Yeah, Mayo Kuomintang, Jiu Mayo Xinjiangguo. So without the Nationalist Party, there'd be no new China. So the communists then changed that song to, oh, without the Communist Party, there'd be no, I'll just steal your homework. Change a couple of the lyrics there.
Yep.
Hand it in. Look, I did a good job. Anyway.
Catsup27 says, free Tibet from a Canadian.
Thank you.
Wandering Chandelure. Oh, the Pokemon. A Remembrance Day was just yesterday. Does China have any remembrance traditions like the West outside the anti-Japanese films? It's mostly anti-Japanese stuff.
I mean, yeah, they do have like some kind of veteran stuff. I've seen it.
Oh, yeah. They have like military day, Qing Ying Hua, who looks like some sort of Japanese anime thing, says, first time I managed to catch this live. Just wanted to say how much I love your videos and appreciate the well-informed content that you both produce. By the way, please ignore my username. I'm sorry, I read that out. Doc Slothington says, how many active CCP members involved in propaganda do you think are truly aware of the outside world and that they know it's a lie? Almost every single one of them. Yeah. This is not a secret in China. No. The propaganda is to keep the lowly populace uninformed.
That's correct.
Jonathan Cabanas, can you touch the DMZ between India and China? I don't think you could get anywhere close. The military buffer zone.
Maybe it says touch on.
Touch on. I'm sorry. I thought you were.
Ooh, I'm going to touch it.
Could you go there?
You'll be beaten up with poles from both sides. You'd have the Indians and the Chinese on your ass with those poles wrapped in barbed wire or whatever they have. They'd beat you. They'd beat you solid.
I just learned that the Chinese and Indian troops will fight with sticks to avoid armed conflict. Great.
Oh, yeah.
Great. I would say that's not great every time I see that freaking thing.
It's funny.
Oh, my gosh. I'm sorry you guys were... okay. Winston Bro, Black Halo 6 says, the place that had your car is a chop shop, apparently. That's nuts that they made it worse.
Yeah, look, the thing is, when they took the fenders off and stuff, and I reckon when they put the fenders back on, they pinched wires and things because there was a big wiring issue. I had to jerry-rig a whole bunch of things just to get it started. It was a real pain.
Poor Jerry, by the way. Yeah. Anyone named Jerry? Mm-hmm. You're always synonymous with shitty workmanship.
It's true.
Jerry rigged. Why can't it be Tom rigged or?
I don't know.
Bill
Why is
rigged?
it called a jerry can?
I don't know.
I know that's because of the Tommies and the Jerrys from World War II, and it was the German invention. Which, by the way, a jerry can is vastly superior to anything that fuel carrying thing that the Allies had.
What did they have?
Just crappy little things.
Milk bottles?
They'd dent and stuff. The whole, if you look at the design of a jerry can, it's got these grooves in it and stuff that prevents it from collapsing and folding in. It's really good. Look it up. It's good. Jerry cans are awesome.
Bambi Days, I just found you over Halloween and I'm obsessed. We're obsessed with your support. I appreciate it. Intersim, Chinese soju or Korean soju? Absolutely Korean soju.
Korean without a doubt.
Not even freaking close.
Japanese soju is my game. Remember that cool one, the Ichigo, the down Napoleon? It's like downtown no Napoleon or whatever it says on it. The Napoleon of downtown.
Yeah, I like Korean the best.
If you're ever going to drink soju, by the way, here's a little tip. Glass, water, okay? Put a bunch of soju in there, as much as you want, depending on how drunk you want to be. Add water and squeeze a lemon in it and put a lemon. It's delicious. And it's the kind of drink that you'll sit there the whole night drinking. You won't feel it, but when you stand up, man, you're done.
You'll feel it.
It's good stuff.
Grumpy Marine, thank you very much. Koala1203, it's been years since the 2 sessions were up, and I still don't know what that guy means by Chinese manners.
Oh.
Neither do we.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing something mean with that, because I've got all those horrendous clips of people blowing their snot rockets and spitting and stuff in China. I was thinking about making a mix. Where it's let me show you Chinese manners, and it's overlaid with all this stuff, and I thought, it's too mean. Yeah, because it's not Chinese manners. That's just a certain. Exactly. That's a certain group.
That's the lost generation.
Yeah, it's the lost generation of the.
You wouldn't see young people. No.
So I didn't do it, but there was always up there these mean ideas that I had, which I didn't do because I'm actually not a mean person.
Grumpy Marine says some people fear that they see this country heading in the direction that they're trying to wake people up. Keep up the great work. Suzanne B, I would be willing to support Sea Milk by every inch in his hair.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I don't know how, it's probably only 3 inches.
Yeah. Get a lot of hair going there.
Yeah, I do. Return to Orc Monkey. Who would win a fight, John Cena or Chinese Ox?
Are
you kidding me? Chinese Ox would kick John Cena's ass.
Yeah, with a meat cleaver.
Literally the dumbest fight matchup ever. When they do those YouTube boxing matches? Yeah. Chinese Ox would literally kill him in one hit.
That's the thing. These WWE guys and stuff, they get built and stuff, but it's just weak muscle. It's not like...
I'm sure John Cena's strong, but
Chinese Ox is just made out of sinew. He'll just destroy you.
And you can't hurt him. That's the most thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, John Cena probably has all these techniques, and he'll hit him a ton of times.
With a plastic chair that's made out of rubber. Yeah, it'll be like, whatever.
Yep. To the victor goes the Bing Chiling.
Yeah.
Passkey 303. Here's a knee slapper. Of course you can pick up our stealth fighters. You need to use Chinese radars to not pick up Chinese stealth
Yes,
fighters.
there we go. Yeah.
TAG, how did you guys end up in China? I've had a few physics professors who lived in China for a few years, more so than any country. Not sure why.
We have multiple videos on,
go check it out.
on our channels. And maybe just go watch the one on ADVChina, How We Met, because that'll kind of give our stories. Yeah.
Can't stop the ox. Can't stop the ox.
Yes.
Dustin D, great. No soundbite needed. I appreciate that. Let's use polite about it.
I think that's a really
Great.
comment. I appreciate that.
Interview. We need more politicians like Drew. Have you guys found any Chinese restaurants on the East Coast that top your quest for the best a while ago? Yes, in New York City and Flushing.
Yeah.
You can go you throw a stone in Flushing, you're going to end up at a really good Chinese
Yeah,
restaurant.
we're thinking about doing an East Coast version of that at some point.
Chipicus S. I can't believe you're back, Chipicus. I feel like you probably were always here, but then you like changed your name. Do you guys have a PO box for fan mail? Not for fan mail, but if you get a hold of us like privately, we do have a PO box.
Yeah, we do actually have. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Aaron Young, Winston, do you think the Trans Am's timing belt is messed up? I hate that fix. I don't think so.
No, it's actually not even a belt. It's a chain. It's got the Oldsmobile 403 6.6 liter engine, which is like the worst smog era engine you can get, but it sounds amazing, and it's a big old lump, but it's got a timing chain, and that's fine. I mean, the timing was a little bit off with the distributor. I've replaced the cap and rotor and all that stuff, and the spark plug wires and the spark plugs, and a lot of the smog equipment was really messed up, and vacuum leaks. I've been dealing with that. It's quite a thing, but I've got videos coming.
We have a very patriotic amount of likes. We had 1776 likes. It just rolled over though. Jennifer, like Australians, us Scots use the C word so liberally, and they will even use it positively, like he's a good beep, but the tone defines the level of venom. Yeah,
right,
I can
makes
see
sense.
A. Watson, India's YN channel Gravitas said that that channel is a real handful.
Yes.
Many explosions. A lot of our fans think that you guys are in love with each other, by the way.
No, that's just the female version of SerpentZA.
It is. It's literally like if you were reincarnated, but way more vicious.
Yeah. And I had a bindi.
And you had a bindi.
Yeah.
Many explosion bombs are going off in different places in China. Are these political characters who are protesting Xi's third term?
No, it's really just bad maintenance, the majority of them. Yeah, sure, look, you do get malicious attacks, and it's usually like a disgruntled rural guy who's had his land taken away from him by force, and he goes and attacks the local little
Listen, I know we might sound boring for this, but I know that it's more interesting to see like horrible, crazy, bad news, but you can cut anything together and make it look way worse than it actually is.
Sure.
And there is so much bad maintenance, explosion type stuff in China all the time, but it's simply just because there's so many people, number one, and number two, it's a poorly maintained country.
Yeah,
right?
Look, I mean, I've also talked recently when I did that thing about the nuclear power plant, I showed some of the explosions.
Yeah, it's wild. We've been there.
Holy crap, like, chemical factories.
It's
just
worse than
blow
most
up.
places.
Yeah, there's very bad safety.
But it's not
control.
it's not like some Guy Fawkes ass situation.
No, it's not
here.
like it's a coordinated thing. It's just bad maintenance. It's chabador.
It is. It's just pure chabador.
Yeah.
Thank you again to LA Goomba. That was
that's
incredible.
amazing. Thank you.
Typicus says, do you guys have contingencies just in case YouTube continues to demonetize, such as Rumble or Library? The thing about Rumble and Library and all these other alt platforms is there's not really anyone that's going to go there that's going to have a massive audience, right? So the whole point about what we were doing, activism, especially with human rights stuff, the whole point is to hit as many people as possible. This is not like, pay me, we deserve money. Right?
Yeah, but he's saying, do we have a backup?
And I get that. Well, I'm leading up to this. We ended up choosing Odyssey as our contingency. So all of our stuff is mirrored there.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what a mirror is, a mirror. It's mirrored.
Yeah. In an American dialect, it would be a mirror. And I'm merely telling you this just because just in case our content goes down, it's all over.
Yeah, don't worry. We do back up our channel, and we do need to have contingencies. You're right.
Yes.
So thank you for thinking of that.
Thank you. Gabriel A says, can I get a grade for the content?
You certainly can.
Great.
Dylan Viennet. Glad to be back again, boys. Hey, what's up, Dylan? John T. Yang Chen is having a press conference. Would you like to meet her? Absolutely.
Great.
He's very excited. He's very excited. I can tell that time he was more excited than before.
Way more excited,
sure. Audrey said, great show. Every time there's a delay on my screen, I'm running the stream on my screen, and I see him twice, and I get a chuckle each time.
Did he just say great show? You mean
he
as
did.
in a...
Great.
show.
I think he did. Saw you
My
some
favorite.
time ago, Beijing Bikini episode. BB. We never made it into an acronym.
No.
I'm Polish. Been to China 2 times in some sketchy bars. I saw a lot of BBs. Beijing bikinis are a thing for
They
sure.
certainly are.
Remember when they tried to like ban it it was one city. It was Nanjing. Was it? I think it was Nanjing.
Maybe, yeah.
Ty Salom says thoughts on the world still. By the way, Beijing bikini is
It's when they roll up the
usually
midriff,
a large man,
Yeah.
a fat man will, like a Chinese ox
Yeah.
would roll up his midriff shirt. He just takes it off. Actually.
Yeah, sure,
He's fully
sure.
nude.
Yeah, exactly.
Walking around like a
Pretty
boss.
much.
But anyway, they'll roll up until their shirt's over their belly like this, and then their belly hangs out.
Yeah.
That's a Beijing bikini.
It's a way to cool down during the hot summers, apparently.
Yes. Thoughts on the world using TikTok. I post China questions on Quora, and I get pro-Chinese answers. Also, who's better? I'm actually I'm working on a very long-term Quora episode. It was actually co-opted by the CCP with
long time
state but state media taught Chinese people how to co-opt it.
Yeah.
And it was a state enterprise. It was a state action.
Yes.
To co-opt Quora. Quora should be really dealt with in a different way.
Yeah.
It is just state propaganda in English now.
Yeah.
Matthew Stein says, "Do you know anything about the Leo siblings, Michaels or?" No, I don't.
No, we haven't had any updates, but we will let you know when and if there is an update.
Mimi says it's the Australian politicians that are sissies, not the Australian populace, who should vote for non-sissies in the future. That's exactly what
That's right. Stand up. Bring back the Paul Hogans, and with his freaking saddlebags, good old Crocodile Dundee. We need more people like that.
Dylan, our friend, Dylan Viennet says, "I'm with Winston here as an Aussie." He's an Aussie.
Mm-hmm.
"We've capitulated to China. It's hugely embarrassing, to be honest. P.S. I think you need a run."
Oh, we do.
soundbite.
We do.
should.
We'll get one. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll put
just
that
for
down.
you.
I'll put that down.
Yeah. Sandarth 1, nice. Seiya says, Japan is responsible for China's intentions in the Confucius Institutes. The CCP members saw hentai and thought, hey, I want to be that octopus.
Okay.
That is a stretch.
That's okay.
Wiz, the Chinese dancers are in the UK again. Just saw an ad before the communism thing. What's that mean?
Probably the Shen Yun.
Did you? I got a Shenyun flyer.
Yeah, I got one too.
When I was actually downtown the other day, and they're handing out flyers, and usually it's like, come see Shen Yun. This one just said like the evil CCP or something on the front of it, and then it says Shen Yun, China before communism.
Yeah.
They went all in on the whole CCP.
For those of you who don't know, if you ever see that Shen Yun thing, it's like this big dance extravaganza.
Falun Gong thing.
It's backed by the Falun Gong, who are very much opposed to the CCP. So it's kind of like an anti-communist group for their own personal reasons, because they're banned in the mainland China. So it's not the Chinese government putting that on.
No.
It's anti-Chinese government forces putting that on, just so you know.
Yeah.
And if you go there, it's going to be a bunch of people dancing that practice a lot in front of like a Windows XP
And
background.
they're
And then
probably going to want you to join a floating...
No, I don't think they do that, but they
Oh, okay.
definitely put a bunch of like anti-Chinese communist messaging into the show itself.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I mean,
not endorsing or not disendorsing. Is disendorsing?
no,
the word?
just you got to educate yourself and know
Yeah.
what's what. It's not just some like, it's not the Cirque du Soleil or something.
And
okay?
it's not something that we would put out. Like,
It's not something I'd go to personally.
No.
I mean, live dance shows is not my thing.
the Falun Gong thing is a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah. Either way, just so you know what they are.
Yeah.
Not saying don't support them. Do what you want.
Yeah, do what you want. Maureen Stripmatter, what I always find weird is that there's a lot of reverence for Chiang Kai-shek in the mainland. With the old presidential palace in Nanjing and the KMT paraphernalia in Guangzhou at the old training grounds. You're right, because they like fascism.
Yes.
Tag Andreessen. How long do you think Chinese people will continue to accept the way that CCP are doing to their own citizens? How can they afford to build all those weapons when they're bankrupt? They're not necessarily bankrupt.
No.
Don't already
That's
got
the
that.
thing. Like Chinese people can chur coup,
Yeah, it means to
It's
suffer.
like they can eat bitter. And
Means
they're
to
very
suffer,
good
yeah.
at doing this. And, they will continue to, unfortunately.
John Teslov, the solution to solve the CCP sea poacher problem would be a bounty for each CCP fishing boat sunk or hijacked taken to a shipwreck.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that would ever happen is if there was some kind of like underground, I don't know, like a billionaire who
I don't think
funds
you can
that.
go like murder people,
No, you can't.
fishermen.
Yeah, you can't. You can't do that. I think honestly, the only way to combat this is to have stricter laws at sea, and especially surrounding like the nationals of these ships right on the freaking edge. And then at night they like turn it off and go in and fish and then come out. When you see that group right on the edge, you should send like these warships out there
Yeah.
to like sit there, cross their arms, and wait. And as soon as they come 1 inch over, you arrest all the fishermen.
All of them.
All the fishermen, and you put them all like in the whatever stockade, and then you sink the ship. I think that's how it should be done.
Yeah.
It should be like closely monitored and penalized, like 1 inch.
You give them a chance too, like
you warn them off.
Yeah.
But they come 1 inch over,
then they get arrested.
If they turn their transponder off, then it should be like
then you board the ship.
This belongs to
you don't have to sink it, just take it, confiscate it. It's your property. It's on your national territory.
Those ships are so disgusting.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone wants them anyway. They look like
don't
shit.
pollute the ocean with
them.
them.
Have you know, like, just those ships are so
gross.
Foul.
Yeah.
They're doing foul things, but they look terrible. Yeah. It's like floating rust.
Yes.
I don't think they know what paint is.
I don't think so.
Yeah, anyway.
Return to Orc Monkey says the CCP might have 2 sessions, but my American manners require me to inform the singer that I owe him 50 cents for last night's 2 sessions with his mom.
Wow.
That stings whoever you are biffing with.
Yeah, I got to tell you what, that 2-session song's definitely my favorite. We've got to bring it back.
Hands down. We should do a full analysis.
Yeah,
Did we ever do a full analysis?
I think we kind of did. Well, no, maybe not all of it.
I don't think
we'll
so.
go through it properly. Yeah.
Yeah. Dylan Vienna says, I have friends in Kazakhstan who watch you guys in the past on their regards. That's awesome. I've always wanted to go there.
That's amazing.
They are hugely anti-CCP alongside Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. Sadly, their governments are more interested in money, and that's what we're worried about, too, when we want to visit.
Yeah.
Filipino White Boy says, you guys probably already touched on this, but thoughts on the hypersonic missile test? Is it a precursor to something worse? We talked about that last episode.
We actually just recently did a very big interview where we talked about it at length. And
we'll
Stay
tuned with that, yeah.
We'll share it out, yeah.
Wiz. Who's that? That was with.
We can't say it.
That was a great interview.
That was
won't say probably one of our best.
Yeah.
Wiz, China will be the cause at the end of the world because they don't tackle global warming.
Well, also the fact that they outfish all the seas, take all the bloody biodiversity, and create the most CO2 and carbon, coal burning pollution and stuff.
Yeah.
And all this other nonsense. So yeah, maybe.
Do you think Japan would go nuclear to pull up its big pants to counter China? I hope so.
Not
nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying go nuclear means like go hard.
Go
what I mean? Counter China. Be Guide. Sent Drew some PayPal. You're costing me some money tonight. Hey, we didn't make you do that. That was
but
of
we
your own
appreciate
volition,
that.
we approve of that.
And I'm pretty sure Drew appreciates that very much too.
Doc Slothington says, I fear the day you add
buy himself some Tim Tams and Vegemite. You know what I'm saying?
I hear his fund is low for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You need a little bit of that,
I'm sorry.
No, actually, we had one of our subscribers sent us a bunch of Australian.
Yeah, Dion, thank you very much for that. My kids loved a lot of that
Super nice. You know the Tim Tam thing where you bite one corner and the other corner and you take coffee and like suck.
I did soy milk through it.
Of course you drink soy milk.
I'm lactose intolerant.
Okay, yeah, that's true. And I'm pretty intolerant myself. Okay, fact of the matter is, you suck it through the hot coffee or whatever.
Don't say Bickies.
And it like melts it basically. It's delicious. Tim Tams are awesome.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
They're good.
Anyway, yeah. It's good.
Anyway, he says, I fear the day that you add a run soundbite. I fear for our sanity. A little piece of our souls will cringe away and die every time it plays.
It's coming next week.
Why, Dylan? Why did you have to bring that up?
You know why? Because it's
great.
Just saying.
I approve of Tanky Hodor more than Run. That song is poison.
It's really bad.
Speaking of the devil, Dylan says Indonesia have blown up some Chinese fishing boats. When?
Yeah, I mean, look, you see a lot of these. Look, I've done a lot of research, and they're like, America sinks 300. It's lies. It's fake news.
I think Indonesia might have at one point.
Look, they did definitely, and Argentina sunk one ever.
Yeah, we're not calling out Dylan, but there are so many fake videos.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
America, U.S. Navy sinks 300.
That's and it's always like a computer voice. The American Navy has. It's all nonsense.
Yeah. Omar Sai says,
it's like a dream.
It is. I guess. Yeah. This is a response to something way back in the stream, but Canada does have a Drew. Her name is Kemi Lamau. Lamo.
No, please bring her up. Let's see. Never heard of her.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. She's Tibetan. Nice.
You know what? I do recognize.
I do recognize her.
I recognize her. Remember, there was she got a lot of threats.
Yes, we talked about her.
Yeah, I recognize her.
Did.
Okay.
We should probably get her on at some point.
Yeah, let's try. Let's try.
I just think she'd be very receptive to that.
We should introduce her to Drew. Maybe they can get married and start a massive big thing. A family event. She probably is married. Yeah. Sorry, Drew.
Oh, she's 22. Oh, she's I was gonna say they're the same age, but that was a couple of years ago. So they're not the same age. Sorry.
She'd be a cradle robber.
I don't think she is married then. Juan Pablo says, "What is the geographic distribution of your viewers like?" Great, trying to get intelligence out of us. Actually, it's majority is 60% American.
Yeah.
The rest is mostly English-speaking countries. A lot of Taiwan, a lot of Germany,
India too.
a lot of India. Big India on this one. But yeah, the
It's
US.
different actually. You know, this channel specifically is a bit different to our other ones. So.
It's pretty spread out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the vast majority would be.
I'll tell you what they are. It's all the freedom-loving people of the world. Is that?
Oh yeah. And Dadan finishes off the super chat Q&A session by saying chalky bickies, which I'm very upset about. That literally just ruined my day.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this very important conversation. It's been wonderful having you here. A massive thank you to Drew Pavlou.
Yeah, thank you, Drew.
Please go check him out. Support him as much as you can. His links are down below. And that's pretty much it until next week. We can't wait to see you then. Don't forget to check out my video that I released this afternoon about the phishing thing. Please go take a look. I think it's important. And I want to know if you can spot the advert that I slyly snuck in there.
Also, the NFTs are almost done. Please.
Oh, yeah.
Please pull those up. Please, guys, please help share this around. We're kind of on our last legs here to sell these for the charities. That's one of them.
Yeah, this is the sketch.
There's a sketch of Ray Pape and the Beach Monkeys.
Ray Pape and the Beach Monkeys featuring Sheetler with a new album, Cleaning My Apartment, featuring the hit single, Toothpaste Makes You Minty Fresh.
There's an oil painting and a sketch. You have the oil painting there.
Yeah, the oil painting's obviously the big prize.
The big ticket item. So the charity's going to go to stopping women trafficking globally, and then a rape network, support network here in the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely.
So please consider sharing that around.
At least go look at it.
Yeah, at least go look at it.
I mean, just go
They're
look,
in the description.
Look at the links.
Yeah.
So you can see it in detail, because this is very special.
Yeah, we don't want
It's a very special story.
We don't want these charities to go not get the stuff that they need.
Thankfully, the original video I made about this guy, the rape ape, it's called "I Was a Bodyguard for a Chinese Serial Rapist." It's doing
rape.
Yeah, exactly.
Off the tongue.
A lot of people have watched it. It's up to like 1.6 million views now. So that means at least 1.6 million people out there know this man.
Correct.
For the terrible things that he's done.
Correct.
Cool. So, that's it, guys. Thank you again.
NFTs are not a scam. Do not say that, because you're actually just buying the real painting. We'll send it to you. We'll mail it to you into your home.
You will get the real thing.
You'll open it and touch it with your hand, and then hang it on your wall, not your virtual wall in VR chat.
Yes.
This is a real painting.
And then
you're
actually
buying.
the NFT is basically just an authentication ticket, so that it proves that you've got the one and only real thing.
Because there is only one of each.
Yeah.
There's one sketch, one oil painting.
Yes, exactly.
Please check it out.
Anyway, guys, thank you once again. Can't wait to see you in the next one. And let's try not to cut myself off this time. What do you say?
Sure,
I'm going to count down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2,